right, this is the, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the monthly meeting of the Area and Parks and Recreation Commission, Wednesday, April 20th. And this became a special meeting because we moved the location, is that correct? Yes, okay, so the agenda says regular, but we were asked to relinquish room 119 tonight, so we moved down here, which I like being down here, but it renders it a special meeting. So everybody is aware of that. Happy almost Earth Day, everybody. It's technically Friday, but it's Earth Week, which is appropriate for the commission and many of the things we're going to talk about tonight. Just before we jump into the minutes and other items, first want to mention a couple of things. One's a goodbye, stinks, and one's a hello to Chris. But I don't know if all of you have heard the good news for her, terrible news for us, but Jamie Gore is leaving the care. She is, yeah, I know. We're really proud of her. She is going to be the director of the Parks and Recreation Department in Woodbury, Connecticut. Oh, nice.
Oh, they are so,
yep.
Yeah, they are so lucky.
They're so lucky. So
tough shoes to fill.
There, she is one of a kind.
When will she lose her last name?
Thursday. Leaves her tomorrow. And unfortunately, she's not here tonight, so we'll just encourage you all to reach out.
Oh, absolutely.
Wish her well, but as Chris Miller said, I hate Woodbury. So it's just a huge loss for all of us. She's just a really,
but we're all so proud of her.
Special gal,
it's a great move for her.
It's the logical next step in her career. So, and it's much closer to home, so it shortens her commute by a whole bucket. So, it's just all in all a great move for her. But darn. But darn.
Yeah,
so.
just a little more work for Dan and team.
The job went up today, so it will close on May 9th, and I anticipate we'll have many applicants.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
hopefully,
Still hard shoes to fill.
it is hard shoes to fill, but I bet we'll find someone that is looking for a job, a good job, and we look for all the same skills that Jamie had. Just won't quite be the same.
Yeah, won't be able to write those poems.
No. Like I said, in anything in leadership roles of that 5%, you can't change it. I mean, it's just unique.
Anyway, but I did want to make sure you guys were all aware of that.
I'm sorry, is her last day tomorrow or
No,
a
next
week
Thursday.
or a week tomorrow?
Week
Okay.
tomorrow. Want you to know that, and then we want to again officially welcome Chris Taylor. We welcomed him in our very special meeting, but if you want to guess, we were trying to do that one in 20 minutes and get everybody out. So if you just want to give us a couple minutes all about Chris.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you all. It's great to be here and be welcomed by you guys. And I would say, 8 years, almost 9 in the city. Every year I've been a volunteer through different parts of the town, and spent 2 years on the Parks and Rec committee. Very pleased to be, appointed over to the commission, and I believe I've spoken with all of you previously. Done the tours with you guys. I'm very pleased to be working with you, and look forward to helping wherever I can. And my family is, we're all volunteers to the town, so continuing on with that, and look forward to doing what we can.
Great.
Be careful what you wish for. This commission's busy.
We're busy. We got them really busy, which is great. Okay, let us move into the approval of our minutes. The first is March 16th, which was last month's regular meeting. I did watch it back and noticed numerous references to how the meeting was being kept so short. Sorry. Trying to tell me. I think it was about 3 or 4 times I picked up on that one. Sorry. There's a message here.
Just a mantra. Yes, it was more like, I do that on all my meetings now. It's like, really,
Okay. So, any questions, comments, changes on minutes from March 16th meeting?
I just wanted to know if we've heard back from the group who had presented on the planting about some of the questions we had. So, have we heard back from them?
she means like the garden.
The planting and tilling.
Debbie Harding.
Oh, no, I have not heard that.
That was one of my questions, but
I have not heard that.
anything else?
But the commission basically approved that, right? Yeah, so I'll
I
reach
think
out
they
to
were
them.
just looking for some natives to add to the plan
Mhm.
and just to, consider that. I think we kind of discussed that a lot during our discussions. But we felt that a lot of plants were really great and unusual and really sculptural. So I think the foundation part of it was awesome, but they were just going to add in some natives. At least that's the sense I got.
I would think they'd be getting going soon, because usually this is when you want to plant.
I'll reach out to them.
It just got one.
Huh?
It just got one.
Kind of.
Any other questions, comments, corrections? Well, I wasn't even there and I had to do this, so sorry. On your pear tree report, it said the groups have been meeting weekly?
We are not, so,
I think it was more like bi-weekly.
yes, I think I said bi-weekly. We're trying to do bi-weekly.
Right, so that's on
we can
page
change that.
4, Pam.
Thank you.
Page 4,
Under pear tree, C,
yeah,
second line.
yep, bi-weekly.
Yeah. And then I was just reading the clarification on page 3 on the playground. It says that the Parks and Recreation art team had passed unanimously the funding for all 3 playgrounds. There's no reference to ARPA in here, and I thought maybe there should be. So maybe you could say, and I think that was that the RTM committee, you had to vote on the recommendation from the ARPA committee, is that correct? That was before it went to the full RTM on page 3. So maybe you could say something that, waiting on one more vote, the Parks and Recs RTM had passed unanimously. So did you vote on the whole ARPA package or just the Parks and Rec specific pieces?
Are you looking at me?
I am.
And are you looking at this with regards to your meeting or the RTM meeting or
I'm asking with regards to your meeting, which I think would help clarify these.
our
minutes.
meeting, which is the RTM meeting?
Yes.
It was an overall, we didn't go through line item by line item.
Okay.
We accepted the number that was donated to us from ARPA, which was the 6.4 million.
Okay,
Yes,
so the
but you-
Parks and Rec committee of the RTM,
Oh, are you talking about the RTM committee or the overall
the
RTM?
RTM committee. This says, I'm sorry, Patty.
Okay.
It says the Parks and Recreation RTM had passed unanimously the funding for all 3 playgrounds, and it lists the amounts. So
Okay, the way you just said it though, so
that's how the minutes
it
read.
just says RTM, it needs to say RTM Parks and Rec Committee.
It does. It says the Parks and Recreation RTM.
Okay.
That's the way it says. But when you
We just voted to support, it as a committee prior to it then going to the full body of the RTM of 100 people. And then Adele gets up as the chair and she
Right.
speaks to say, we support this. And she did go through the different line items.
But you were supporting the allocation of ARPA funds specifically to the parks or everything? Because there's much more than just the parks and the whole ARPA, 6.4 million.
We focused on the parks.
Parks, okay.
But the paddle, for example, the 5th paddle court
Yep.
falls under Parks and Rec.
Right.
So that was discussed as well. So it
Okay.
wasn't just the 3 playgrounds.
Okay.
And then the swings, the $11,000
Mhm.
for the install for the swings was also
Okay.
part of that.
So thank you for that
Sure.
clarification. I just think the way this is written, it's a little bit misleading. So it says whether the, I think it could say something like the RTM Parks and Recreation Committee unanimously voted to support allocating ARPA funding to the 3 playgrounds.
And I would say the 3 playgrounds, the swings, the installation of the swings at Baker, and the paddle, the 5th, or whatever.
But this was in the playground report section.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then leave it like
And you
that?
didn't know that because I'm looking at it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
And we'll let Jane
All right,
get that on.
she'll get that on there, but I just thought it was a little misleading. Kind of made it sound like you guys had the final authority to
Yeah.
allocate money for the playgrounds, and it doesn't reference ARPA or anything else, so. I'm sorry, that was it.
And mainly because that money came through ARPA and not through the overall budget. So
Yes.
that's why you want to list it that way.
Yes, okay, so those were my comments. So, if we can have a motion to approve the minutes with the recommended changes. Cara, Amy. Well, we get to just hold our hands up now, right? We don't have to do that roll call thing because we're not in video. Cool. Okay. So, no, it's a video thing. So all those in favor? Okay. And any opposed? Excellent. It's just a video thing for some reason.
We have the chart at the end though.
Yes, but there was some reason we were told in the video meetings that we need to do an actual roll call and go name by name.
Okay.
Don't remember why, now it's been 2 years, but we were told that. Okay, next we have the minutes from our April 6th special meeting, which was the meeting with the Historical Society.
So what I noticed about that right off the bat was that the attendance list was inaccurate.
Okay,
For instance, I wasn't at that special meeting.
okay. All right, so it says, let's see, I was there, Susan,
I was there.
Janet, Kathy,
I was there for like,
Cara,
yes.
Mary Louise.
Yes.
Chris. It says absent Sarah, absent Amy.
Oh, I guess I misread it. I thought,
It kind of slides into that line, so.
okay, yeah, no, right, I missed that. I read it too quickly.
Okay. So we're good?
Yeah,
Any other comments or questions?
good for Janie.
Then if we can have a motion to release. Mary Louise? Yes. Chris? Okay, all in favor? That's everybody. Okay, great. We're done with minutes. Okay, do we have any public comment this evening? Here that we do, okay. Okay, so next we have our Eagle Scout project presented by Pace Flaherty. You all received materials this morning.
Introduction, just to say.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Pace is a senior at Darien High School. He's a Life Scout at Troop 53, and he's going to talk about his project, the Free Little Library.
Yeah, so I have, first of all, I have some pictures of one that I can do. This is a more completed version than I sent you today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of course. Is this a good place to sign?
That would be a question for our
That's fine.
setting.
Okay. Yeah, so as Ms. Daly said, I am a senior at DHS, and I'm a Life Scout with Troop 53, and I'm working with the Darien Book Aid to make these free little libraries, because the Darien Book Aid, their mission is about bringing books to people, and so the libraries allow kind of this exchange, of books. So the concept is that you can leave a book there, take a book, put it back, whatever. It's kind of just this open, it's like a library, it's like an open, kind of self-sustaining book exchange. So the Darien Book Aid wants one for themselves, and then I was hoping to put one here at the beach because I know a lot of people love to read at the beach whenever I come down here. I see people reading, and my aunt especially loves to read at the beach. So I thought this would be a really good place to put it. If you have any questions about it.
Questions. I think it's a great idea. The question, where do you think you'd like to have it situated?
Yeah, I was hoping to put it near the building over there, or even under the roof part of it, because although we are building it, it is protected to the elements. It's stained, it's got polyethylene on it, so it should, in theory, be protected from the elements. And this is also just a central location that most people come to.
So it could sit on the porch of the beach house?
Yeah, something similar.
Okay.
Would water get in through are there any?
No, that's not completed yet, but we are planning on sealing the door area, so the books will be protected from
Elements here, do you get?
Yes, yeah.
How are you going to publicize it so people bring books? Great idea, by the way. I'm going to add it here.
Well, the books they will already have books in it. As we're working with the Darien Book Aid, my friend brought me 5 huge bags of books, so we have plenty of books to put in it already. I don't have any further plan to publicize it. That's a very good point, and I think I will do that.
We can have. publicizing.
Oh, yeah, of
Great.
course.
Social media.
Social media.
Yeah.
First and foremost, congratulations on making it this far.
Thank you.
Commend you on this. It will be, there was 2 that were submitted by Susan, correct? The other one at Pear Tree Point?
Yes, those were the 2 options.
Okay, so you want to do
Whichever
one?
one, yeah, whichever one would work better in your mind. You guys are the experts on the parks and.
Got it, okay, yeah, I feel like this is potentially much better just in terms of elements and
Yeah.
helping out with keeping them dry and moving through, but this is great work.
What about maintenance? Like, what if the boxes are empty? Someone took them, they didn't put them back in?
Yeah, so working with the Darien Book Aid, I'm working with Miss Minnis, who's also my orchestra teacher. But they get lots of donations of books, and I haven't talked extensively with them about this, but I believe they would be willing to check in on them, and if they go empty, put some more books in. I don't foresee them going empty, but yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
One more question is, do you see this as seasonal, just for like the spring and summer, or would you put books there all year long?
Well, theoretically, the books could live there all year long. Obviously, it would get the most traffic in the spring and summer when people are coming to the beaches, but the books should be able to stay there all year long.
How large is this? Is this going to be on the floor or?
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
So that one is 48 inches by 32 inches. We actually have that one in the car right now. If anyone wants to see it later. But we were planning on putting it up, so it'd be up to about here. So it's right, very accessible.
On legs.
Yeah, on legs.
How
Instead we have legs.
deep is it?
It's about a foot deep.
I'm just worried about any, do we have any requirements in terms of the width of the walkways, in terms of, like I know at work in hallways, you can't have obstructions for a certain amount of feet and whatever, and that it would be,
It sounds like it's gonna
Sticking
be
out
in
or
a stand,
something.
right? So I guess we could also, like, I thought the safest place was in the breezeway itself, because there's more, you don't like that?
no, actually,
Or,
hey, I'm doing yoga there now, so.
oh, I can't see, okay, don't wanna mess with the yoga.
No, that, yeah, I don't think we can take space there.
Yeah, so you don't like it in the breezeway, but you're thinking against one of the walls towards the front or the back then? You're saying under the...
I'm just worried that those are trafficked and busy, and if we're
Yeah.
taking up width, so I'm just a little concerned about that.
Even with the legs, like 18 inches wide.
It would be about 18 inches wide. Yeah. I don't know the exact
Did
number.
we figure out a good?
Yeah,
price?
we'd have to look at the depth of the,
Yeah.
I don't even know what the depth is of the walkway, but we certainly could take a look at that.
I'd be willing to work with you guys
Okay.
and figure out the best way to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, another way to do it is to not have it on the stand and just suspend it to a wall. And that way you don't have that space that you're knocking into that, so it'd be higher. That's just a thought, like a floating shelf. But, it's up to what your project description is.
Yeah, I mean, we're fluid. We don't have to. We can do whatever works best for you guys.
It almost would seem best to do something like that, because in storms and,
If it's above,
if it's freestanding on
you
two
could get knocked
legs.
around and
Four.
yada yada and move.
Four legs, yeah.
So that's another option, and that would take up less space, from the walking around standpoint.
And so has Book Aid committed to, you're presumably going to be graduating and
Yeah.
going off into the world. I'm just thinking about the maintenance on an ongoing basis to make sure that the books are full, and I'm also, curious about in terms of who's going to really curate the content, because I would be concerned that
Yeah.
inappropriate materials, or what some people might consider inappropriate
Mhm.
for certain ages or whatever, would get put into it, and then
Yeah.
somehow it comes back on us.
Darien Book Aid has not committed to that yet, but I could certainly talk to them about it. I don't see any issues with that, because it's just checking once or twice, once every 1 or 2 weeks, and seeing if everything's okay.
Where is their location going to be for Darien Book Aid? Is it going to be at their drop-off?
I assume that's where it will be. I haven't talked to them about the specifics yet. They just said they want one. I assume
It's
it will be
interesting
out
because
there.
that's a tough spot in terms of getting there, and there's not a lot of parking. So honestly, this spot would be more easier, accessible to more people, I think,
Yeah.
personally, so, and it has their name on it, if they're
Yeah.
willing to be ongoing, this would be a good way to publicize when they're needing collections or
Yeah.
books, so, just another thought, you know.
Yeah,
And
I'll-
that
I'll-
way they'd
I'll
be
also-
more committed to this location and help us out, because I feel like that spot is just hard, there's no parking in front of it, I don't even think they have their own lot, you know, so people. would
No,
have
they
to walk
don't.
by. You know, they'd have to walk by to really, you know,
I think seasonally though, now that we have a park monitor,
yeah.
that certainly could be something that they add in their day, is to do a check on that. Because they're working, they're going from park to park to park to park, and, you know, they're gonna be at the concession, so we certainly can add that to the list. And, you know, I don't know how long we'll continue to have.
I mean,
park
it's
monitor.
actually geared, I mean, I participate in a seed library and other things, it's geared towards being self-policing, so like, if I went there and I was dropping off a bunch of books and I saw, wow, ooh, that's a little risque, I'd probably pull it out, or I'd put my, you know, so a lot of people are just, it's a public good thing, and the community is what makes it so great. It's not about one person saying, I don't really think people should be reading this book, you know, but I get what you're saying.
I watch the news too much.
Yeah, I know, I get it, and
I
you know
have
what
a
I
hard
mean?
time with that, yeah.
You know, I get it, and but I also feel like, you know, this is a thing that it could be very positive for the community to share books they love, or books that they've loved and they want other people to love.
Yeah, you put a lot of kids' books in too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are planning on getting a bunch of graphic novels as well.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah,
Just love that.
I love
I have little kids' books if you need some.
Can I make a suggestion? Because I've seen several of these around the country, actually. I love the idea, by the way. But one of the best ones I've seen, two of the best ones I've seen, have the instructions painted on the side or
Great
another
idea.
version.
Yeah.
So people know when they approach it, you can take a book, please put it back, please add your books to it if that's something that you know, and kind of having like the little rules on there so that, you know, community rules for your book aid project, so that people understand what it is, because otherwise they might just walk right by it, or just think it's for someone else. And I think it would maintain itself a lot better, especially if you wanted to add rules about the kind of content, if someone were allowed to add a book, which in many cases, these places do allow you to add books, please add only these type of books, whatever, family friendly, clear content, you know, you could be specific so that people, and I honestly believe people would respect that in this community anyway, but, you know, there's always gonna be the rule breakers, but I think if you outline some of the rules, and maybe Gary and Book Aid could help you, you know, do that. That would be very helpful all the way around.
Great idea. In my understanding, I think it was actually Laura Mosier who's working this today, I believe she's on the board of volunteers there, and she said that they get a lot of books dropped off that are not the type of books that they need for their core program. You know, they're looking more for textbooks to send to, you know, other countries, and she said we end up getting a lot of books that, you know, might be interesting to people in Darien, but just don't really work. So I guess if they are looking for
An outlet for
these, and I know from firsthand experience that most libraries, believe it or not, don't want a lot of donated books.
Yeah, it's true, you're right. I saw that even at the
Like cleaning out parents' houses, believe me, but found out that they can be difficult to eliminate.
Darien Book Aid has a sheet that if you go in and you actually look around, there's usually nobody there, but there's a sheet that explains the types of books they need, but most people don't
Right.
look at it, and they dump off every book that they don't want to read again, and they have to get rid of it. They clean them out, or they donate them to Goodwill, or what have you, so.
It's definitely an issue.
So it sounds like we agree that it can be kind of self-policing with
And,
some help
yeah.
with park aid.
And it sounds like if something does happen, we can, you know, I don't know, I think it's such a great project that, especially this coming summer when we're gonna get a lot of traffic at the beach, for people to be able to go and grab a book and read, like spend longer than they thought they were gonna be. Maybe they walked here, now they're like, I wanna stay a while, and now they have a book that they can cozy up to with one of our Adirondack chairs. I just see it as a very, it's not planned, but it's great. It's a great moment for some of our town residents to be able to use that.
It's a great project.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful project. First off, congratulations for making it this far. You have a big year ahead of you with everything going on in your life and this. So, good luck.
Thank you.
Pedal to the floor, right?
Yeah.
I hope you have all green lights.
Yeah.
As I say, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Grant Evans?
Yes,
Yes.
it's grand noise sense. I hope you
You know,
have green lights.
Mrs. Durning's sons are Eagle Scouts too.
Oh.
At least one, right? I remember you had Eagle
Yeah.
Scouts. so.
So I saw some of these in San Francisco, like Kim mentioned, and my heart lit up to see them. And I don't think we're gonna have a problem policing them. I think that the town would be, I think Kim's really right. They were on one-legged stand. I don't know if that helps at all, but it was just one leg. I don't know if the four
Yeah,
legs
we
was-
did look at that kind of design, and it would have to be a pretty big post for these because they're a bit bigger than I think most of the.
Yeah,
the letters that-
this seems bigger. And
Yeah.
does it have a plexiglass door on it?
It does.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Great. I do think there would be a spot at Pear Tree that might, right there next to the wall, the building wall would be easier. But I do think there's probably more. Out into the parking lot where we have that wonderful.
Where the murals.
Oh, it's just that there's no overhang to protect it.
To protect it so much. Well, the ones in San Francisco were actually outside.
Yeah, and
And
theoretically, the
elements.
ones that we made are weatherproof. They
Yes.
have like they have the shingles and.
So I don't know that
It would be longer lived.
longer
Yeah,
lived.
they would be long lasting.
That's a big one.
Covered, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big wall. So that might be a spot if it was,
Yeah.
safe.
So maybe what we could do as a commission is, it sounds like we're still trying to decide on final location. I think what maybe we can vote on is the project that we will accept one and that Pam and I, and that we can decide, like we'll make sure the measurements are right. We'll consult with Lori because I think she's concerned about some of the clearances too. And we'll just experiment with one.
Yeah, I think
and
we
see
should
how it goes.
heartily accept it and then just work out the details.
Yeah, and I'm willing to work with, Pace on it and, make sure we find a good spot. 'Cause
Will one be enough for his project?
he's doing one at Book 8 too, he said.
Yeah, we have two.
Okay.
So he's
All
going
right.
to, yeah.
So that's enough and that will fulfill your requirement.
And to be honest with you, we probably want to test this out if we're so unsure about whether it's viable, because if we ask the staff to take on the role of monitoring or anything, it's just a lot to ask, but to do two,
Yeah.
we don't even know if one's going to work. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with doing one at a park location.
All right, if you think that works.
I mean, if it gets wildly popular, we get, it's another Eagle
Yeah,
Project
just-
opportunity for
yeah.
the
Yeah,
next
if you want to
generation.
expand.
Yeah, and he's the trailblazer, and now we can expand on it, so.
Pam was approached by, I don't remember who it was, but somebody in town approached Pam about putting one in Highland. But she and I talked about it, and of course, we referred them over to the selectmen.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's
all
right.
of our authority, and I don't know what happened with that, but.
Where do you think?
Highland Park.
Highland Farm.
Highland.
I said Island.
Highland, I'm sorry. So I don't know.
So it sounds like everybody's pretty much in agreement about this project, and
I think we can
and the way
address
we've
some of
revised
these,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, so can I make a motion to accept his Case Flaherty's Eagle project as proposed with the revision that we'll decide on the location, the final location of the free library. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
And just clarify the responsibility for the,
Yeah.
the
We will make sure, yeah, okay.
you know,
We'll talk to, we'll
Yes,
clarify
absolutely.
that too, and then, but I think, so we have a second, and, vote, I guess.
All right, all in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Look forward
Thank
to
you so
working
much.
with you.
Can I make one last suggestion on this?
Yes.
They have one over at Cove Beach
Yes.
that's on a long stand.
Uh-huh.
It's probably not quite as large as the one you're proposing, but I would suggest that it's looked at so you can see how it's secured on the post. It's a pretty solid post, but
It
I'm
is,
sure it's
yeah.
dug way into the ground.
Exactly. You have to
With
find
cement.
locations to
Yeah.
cement,
Yeah.
cement into
And
the
you might
ground.
want two posts.
That is one of the reasons we opted for the 4 legs because we didn't know how possible
You
cement.
might have trouble securing that
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
So either on the wall or on the, but you might want to just take a look.
We're
and
going to
see.
look at it in terms of safety too, because we don't want something that's not, it's not going to be safe for our security.
We don't want it rickety.
We don't want to hurt anybody,
Yeah.
especially when you.
I mean, yeah, it's adaptable, so whatever you guys decide is best, I will make it work.
Okay, that sounds great, because we don't want anybody to
Yeah.
get.
There's one on Fitch Avenue
Yeah.
over here, and there's also one on Hollow Tree Ridge, down near the high school. If you go just
Okay.
past the high school, instead of where you're coming in from the top of Hanson, and then the high school's here, and you keep going, there's one there, and it's painted white. So that might be another example that you just want to look at.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's at somebody's home, just stop
Isn't it
inside.
great?
Yeah, love it, love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're good?
Thank you.
Okay.
No, yeah, my son's member.
All right, next on the agenda, it's April again, and we have kept a 6-month short lease on affirming our willingness to keep the freights boats on the dock, and it's April again. I did,
I can't believe
we're
it.
here again.
And I feel like
The freights again. I did, in one of my conversations with Monica, as we've been kind of catching up and talking about park things, did bring this to her attention. She was not aware of it at all. You all recall that our former selectwoman, Jamie Stevenson, was quite keen on us supporting the freights business, and I think even came to one of our meetings to talk about it. Monica was just simply not aware of it at all. I suggested that she, wander down there and take a look, when she gets a chance, but we all know she's got, a ton on her plate right now. Pam was able to touch base with her about it in the last day or so.
And I sent her the letter.
Right, so she is now aware, but she just really hasn't formulated an opinion either way. Now, it's our decision, not the selectmen's decision, but I did, because the selectmen in the past really, had asked, for our support of this, I did at least want to get her up to speed, but, so that's, I guess, the long way saying she has not rendered an opinion either way at this point, so.
Is she maybe she'll be indifferent?
Maybe.
Is she, are we looking for an opinion from her to make our decision?
I don't know that we need an opinion, I just think we historically kept in mind that Mrs. Stevenson was highly supportive. So I think that was always, a factor that we kept in mind.
I think his point was there's nowhere for them to go.
And there is nowhere there for them to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only, as we talk about each other, the only option would be for them on a daily basis to trailer the skiffs into the water, and then pull them out at the end of the day, at 4:30 in the morning or whatever hour it is that they go out and do this. So, they're unfortunately, we've investigated, there just are not other options. The boat ramp situation has not changed. I think that will be a situation when we get there that may have to cause us to rethink this if the boat ramp gets repaired and the usage gets heavier, et cetera. That it may cause a change, but we're still not having any progress on that. So nothing has particularly changed. We want to make sure that we reinforce, especially during the summer, that the boat is always on the east side, right, the road side, and not ever left in the main ramp area. So, but I feel it's just important. I know it feels a little bit like a broken record on this, but the backstory was that this got approved at one point, the commission turned over, it didn't get on an annual schedule, and it got forgotten about for a really long time until we got complaints. So that's why I'm just making sure that we just proactively reaffirm it until we're able to move the pear tree boat ramp along, and we'll really have to think about it. Okay. So if anybody would like to make a motion? Kathy? Mary Louise?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. And Susan abstains. Okay.
And Janet,
Oh, no,
you raise your hand?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
just quickly.
I'm gonna abstain on this one too.
Okay.
So we have to get the letter work, Pam, make sure, also this gives us the opportunity for Pam to go out, reaffirm it in writing, make sure that we're named in their insurance policy, and everything's really lined up, which is also important.
Great.
Okay. So, which I think probably haven't happened at one point either, so. Okay. Okay. Dogs. Since the last meeting, we've had at least 2 reported incidents coming from dogs being off leash in Woodland. One was a dog-on-dog where one smaller dog was quite severely injured, permanently disfigured, which is really, really upsetting. And then another was, I think, a tripping or an ankle twist.
From a dog.
Sounds like it was a harassment.
Yeah, harassment from a dog, which actually was an individual who was a volunteer at one of our meetings, like the night before. So somebody who just, was coming to us and working and volunteering to the town. So it's frustration. I know certainly down here at Wheat Beach, since the program has ended for the season, on a number of occasions, I've seen, dogs on the property. I was at Cherry Lawn on Sunday, saw dogs on the field, dog on the pickleball court.
I got a call about Cherry Lawn this week.
Okay, so again, it's cropping up again. I'm just hoping we're gonna have some of our dog volunteers here.
Well,
Patty.
Jamie Moore, I'm not just a dog volunteer, I'm on all your other work. Jamie Gore did do the doggy doos, so an updated doggy doo. She's got a bunch of them for Woodland, so I will put them out at Cherry Lawn tonight on my way home. And I'll give you that one, and maybe we can get help putting it out at Woodland. I don't go to Woodland, so I don't know the area as much. I think that it's the season now where the weather's getting nice and people are out there. And sometimes it's people that are newer people that are just getting their dogs, right? Like there's an abundance of new dogs coming at this time of year. There's a lot of new people who've moved into town. And we talked about self-policing on some other things here. I think this is an example where I know at least at Cherry Lawn, there's a lot of self-policing. Like they really are on top of that. And so I talked to Steve O'Connell after I heard that a dog ran on and grabbed the pickleball. It's one small dog. It's a guy from New Canaan who plays all the time there. Like it's a really innocent dog. It's not going to hurt anybody. But I said to Steve O'Connell, who is our paddle chair, to please just let this gentleman know that he really, if he's playing for a long time, he should just leash that dog up. That area does allow dogs off leash, so but it wasn't, I asked specifically about that, and I wasn't there, so I didn't see it. But for the most part, I think most of the folks who play pickleball there, they know there's a rotation of dogs that are around there in the morning. They know the dogs, they love them, they pet them, it's not a big deal. If it was somebody who was new to playing pickleball and just started and it bothered them, I personally would have just turned around and had a discussion with the person and said, hey, can you keep your dog off there? So I think it works both ways, and I would hope that we'll self-police as much as we can in all aspects of Cherry Lawn. I will talk for Cherry Lawn. Can't talk for Woodland because I don't go there. But I hope that's helpful. But mainly we're going to be putting up 10 signs around specific places at Cherry Lawn, including in the box there, right there, because I thought that was a good spot.
Yeah.
And then Kath, I can help you at Woodland.
And Woodland, I thought they did put up more signs.
I haven't been in my judgment.
I believe they have put more signs up there.
Yeah, so I guess the question, I know you guys were thinking about talking to our new police.
Yes, so I'll report on that. So Pam and I did meet with Captain Allison Dima, who is delightful, as well as Chip Stahl, who is the animal control officer. And we had a good meeting with them about a week or so ago in Pam's office and expressed our concerns and our need for police support. And Captain Alley was very, very supportive, and she committed to really getting the word out to the entire police force about the commission's concern about the rules not being followed, and to have them keep an eye, because they don't patrol the parks a lot, but they definitely, especially in the summer, they're down at the beaches, they're over at Pear Tree, and they are absolutely around. Pam and I were very clear with them and Chip that we want to see him start ticketing. I think historically he's been biased to giving people a warning or whatever, and we made it clear that we are done with that, and that he needs to start ticketing people.
We should talk about each location, because they're very different dynamic things going on. Like with Wheat Beach, we did allow off-leash in the winter, and I know that people forget, but one of the things when I went to Todd's Point that I thought was really helpful was they do a flashing big sign, and I know the town owns one, maybe right now, for the next, since we made that transition, say, no dogs off in the beach at this point, just to kind of a visual reminder. Do a reset, because those signs that we do have, that in front, people are just they walk right by it. It's like your eyes don't even see them anymore. It's like when you close it on there. Yeah. So I think if we do that for a few weeks, we could borrow that sign, have that at the beach, for the few weeks that we're doing that transition. So then people say, oh wow, I totally didn't know this was only till. I know, I'm trying to
the
be
sign
more,
is right there.
I know,
And I
but-
see people literally.
No, but you're talking about the no dogs allowed sign, which is like this big.
With a big red.
I know, but that sign's up all year long.
No, it's not.
No, the no dog
No,
sign?
it gets taken down for the
Did we
winter.
take it down? I didn't remember that, but maybe I'm losing my mind. I thought that my dog all the time, I don't.
Well, I think we cover it up or whatever we
Cover
do
it,
because,
Well,
because of the program.
But
Yeah.
either way, I think just having that, this is a new program. I don't bring my dog down, so I have no idea if that's truly happening
It is.
and I believe you, I'm not. But let's do a reset for that. I just don't want to blame it on the,
And they're, talking to the captain too, I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, it's going to happen.
right.
They're
And
gonna
they
try to
can
be
be
their
everywhere.
best. People that don't wanna follow the rules aren't gonna follow the rules. The
And
sign
I
isn't gonna change that. The rule followers will, right? So they're gonna read the sign and say, oh, I shouldn't come in, but.
But I'm just saying if people
Yeah,
are
in
just
case
gonna
you're
follow,
just getting the people who would follow the rules, but were
but just had no
oblivious.
clue. I think there's
Right.
people like that. But just going to Woodland, I think the worst issues we have been at Woodland with the off-leash problems. And I think that's where maybe we say to the police, to Chip, just camp out there, like live there for like a week straight. I don't know, I just feel like if that's the place where we get it the worst, why
I think
can't
you also
we?
have to do signage there, because this is
Yes,
so
and
large.
we're gonna up the signage
Yeah.
and Pam's gonna do more of the hard metal signs.
25 of
I
them.
know, they will
I
just.
know, but I spoke to the person
And they all
that
came back.
had the dog incident
Mhm.
with the ear. It was a Frenchie and part of his ear got chopped
Oh.
off. And she said that it's the same group of people coming and doing the same thing. She knows this group, she even, like her dog knows them. They're always there, they do it all the time, they know the rules, some are off, some on, and it's happening.
So
And-
ticket the habitual offenders.
Yeah, I'm just
And we
saying,
made
they
that
are so
message very,
habitual.
very
and-
clear.
But that means he has to get out and walk the park.
Our
Yeah.
park monitor's gonna do the same thing. And he was very effective last year.
Was he?
Yeah.
He was
Good.
very effective.
Are there
Yeah,
any
they work good.
off-leash hours at Tilly? Just
Yes,
Yes.
yes. There are.
like,
Just in the morning.
In the
in the
morning.
morning, okay, because I actually had someone approach me, and asked about what to do during off-leash hours when her dog is off-leash, but apparently there are 2 women who live on Lakeside who are rehabbing and feeding the geese.
Mhm.
Have they complained to
Oh,
the
yeah.
commission?
They have pictures of a woman dumping food.
Yeah, we'll
It's
talk
the
about
worst
this.
thing, yeah. Well,
We'll talk about the geese too. That's-
Well, so.
Okay, sorry, is this a separate topic then?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Okay, only because the person that approached me, or tried to inquire, is the person with the off-leash dog that I think came into conflict with the women who are rehabbing.
so they were at
Yes.
the park during legal off-leash times.
Well, that's why I wanted to confirm that was
Yes.
true,
Because I
because she
realized,
said
yeah.
that, she said
Yes.
like it's off-leash hours, it's not like I'm breaking any
And the
rules.
irony is that the dogs help chase the geese out.
That's what she's saying, she's like, she's thought that Parks and Rec actually used to have a program where you would
We
use
do, we do.
to
Well,
put them into the
All right,
water.
well, we'll talk about it now. We had one, except the company has quit because they have been subject to so much verbal abuse by said women that they don't want to come to Darien
Oh,
anymore.
wow.
He refuses, but he's at Highland. He didn't.
Right.
So
I
this
sent them
resident,
Oh, good.
her
Yeah.
dog, I think
That's
she,
No,
I
it's
don't know
good.
if
you
it was
sent
like,
them out.
by design, or it just so happened that her dog started sort of helping with, herding the geese into the water. But I think she's, being threatened
Mhm.
by these 2 women, so she wanted to understand like what she could do to avoid the conflict. I said, I really don't know, I need to ask the,
I'd just like to add to this that there are a number of loose dogs at Highland Park as well. I've been walking over there, and this is pretty funny because I was there with my son, his dog, and mine this past weekend, and there were a couple of dogs running loose with their leashes on, which made me wonder if people were saying, oh, I got the leash on the dog, but he's running loose all over the
Was
place.
there owner near? Was the owner near them?
The other thing, pardon me?
Was the owner near the dog?
They were running across and, all over, but there was a gold, I have a golden, so there was another one running just all over the field, and kids, you know, were around, some were theirs and others, but I guess another question is, do we know who these K9 people are who were letting a dog run on Highland Park?
Yes,
Are they from Darien?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
He moves around. He moves around and I had a discussion with him out there. I went and
Because
talked to
it was
him
a little
about.
tough with us walking
Yeah.
past him the other day, and the dog, mine kind of went forward, his came really forward
Mm-hmm.
and growling, and, you know, he had to kneel down with the dog. But I am a dog owner, I have been for years. I'm looking at other people walking there who don't have dogs.
Well, I had a long discussion with him, enough so that we were even considering maybe he would consider working for the town and running his dog, you know, to help with the geese, but now we don't need him to, because I have the other guy there. But he was very well aware that he should not have his dog off leash. Even though the dog is incredibly trained, the rules are that there's.
Well, his dog did come after mine. I mean, he started to pull him, and he got down with him right away and stopped him, so, you know, we kind of went the
I
other
saw him
way.
at a fireman's field
So that's
recently, so I think he moved, but
We shouldn't have people that are not.
I
But the other thing related to the geese and the dogs is that, I don't know if you know about, there's a huge flu going around with the avian flu, and they're the spreader of this flu, and it kills all of the chickens, the birds. It's spreading pretty quickly, and it's decimating entire flocks. I'm on this because I'm on I do chickens, too.
Yep.
And it's been devastating, and it's basically the ponds, the geese, they're like, so.
They're
I
bringing
think
Wait, there's.
no, they're spreading
They're killing the
it's called
geese.
the avian flu.
Flu,
It kills
yeah.
everything, it kills like any type of
Avian,
like
yeah.
chickens, it kills
Ducks.
ducks, everything.
Yeah,
So I think as a town, especially since we have purview over Tilly, which is a pond, we really do need to figure out what to do with
are you saying you're worried about it
killing
jumping
ducks.
over
and-
to other species?
No,
or-
I'm just worried about them killing the ducks, killing everything,
Geese.
because their feces, they have, you know, their
Yeah.
waste is all over the park, and they spread all of that.
Have we had a discussion with the two women who live on Lakeside saying you can't be dumping food into
You're not
Tilly
sure.
Pond? This is our, has that,
I don't know who it is, I just got a complaint from someone, so
Okay.
certainly I can't address something like.
But we should
Okay.
probably talk.
One
Yeah,
of
that's
the things
not
that
okay.
we met with the captain and Chip is generally her advice, because I think all of us have taken cracks at this in terms of suggesting to people that they follow the rules and being subjected to various levels of verbal abuse, is Ally recommended that we don't engage directly. But she did give us the police phone number, which everybody write it down.
Non-emergency number.
203-662-5300, and that you should immediately, if you see off-leash behavior, call, ask for a police officer to come, and they're going to be advised to come and deal with it. So I, for one, will be doing that.
So, my first ever, as committee member, watching a commission meeting, this was the exact same discussion 2 years ago. I know that it's ongoing. And in fact, I happened to take my daughters, I think a couple of days later, to Woodland, and we're walking through, and we see people with leashes off, and I try to say, hey, you know, you have to have your dog on a leash. And I'm like, who are you? And there's a lot of pushback. And I remember during the exact same meeting, you guys say, hey, this is so difficult as all of us trying to be the nice guys to push this. I don't know if it's the appropriate use of funds to have a police officer spend time.
It's
in the
not,
woods.
but we have no option at this point.
But I think when we look at some of the official Parks and Rec signage, which does lay out everything, maybe we can put fine of X amount if, you know, I mean, like, maybe we can start to push towards
Yeah.
like the, hey, every time you're caught, it's gonna cost you
Yeah.
$100. So
That's
maybe-
good.
But there's no enforcement.
But the
We
police
have
or
that.
Chip have to get there to issue the ticket. Oh, the other thing that Pam is working with Krista McNamara is June is dog license renewal month. So a postcard goes out. She's gonna put the information and the link to our dog using the site, and when the actual license is issued, the dog rules are going to be included, so that no dog owner can claim they didn't know the rules. So we list of park by park by park, here's the rules. So no one can say, I didn't know.
But I think increasing the signage at Woodland in particular, so it's bigger than just right there, but also inside the park and at the other entrances. So you gotta realize, so many people walk into Woodland from different entrances, they don't see the front sign.
What do you think about talking to Chris Thomer and see if he's willing to work with us to do like a sign? Because part of the reason we wanted to keep dogs on leash at Woodland, it's a nature preserve. And this impacts how these ground nesting birds, they get attacked by these dogs or they don't find places to nest. I think showing it not as like, oh, we just want dogs there, but there's a reason for it. It's because we want to preserve nature there.
We
Like
tried
the
that
birds.
with this.
No, but I meant like just specifically saying it's a bird habitat. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking if we can reach out to Chris because he's our nature, guru. And I know he's done similar signs in different parts. Like I think even at Selleck's Woods, there's information about birds. So I think educating people is helpful too because I think people see rules as just rules. Why do we have these rules?
Yep,
The rules are in place because we have a nature preserve. That's why we kept it, because everybody wanted that to be an off-leash, getting flashbacks, an off-leash park. So many babies are off-leash park, but it was deeded to us as a nature preserve, so we owe it to, the spirit of what we were given to do that, and let's tell the public why we're doing it, not just because we want to have rules.
Yeah, I did have a reach out today from Radha, who is the new, or at least new to me, Darien Times reporter who did the wonderful article on the invasives. And she couldn't be here this evening in person, but said she would watch the meeting back, but she particularly keyed in on that we were discussing this tonight and indicated a willingness to maybe do a story about it as well.
I
So
would
that would
just
help us
say,
as well.
yes, I agree with that. But remember, one of the things we were working on last year was Darien digs dogs. We are a dog town. We have 2,300 dogs registered, according to Krista McNamara at the Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday. So we want to, I agree with you, Chris. We've had a really challenging 2.5 weeks with the police. I'm not calling the cops to come to somebody. I'm going to go up to them and say, please put your dog on the leash. They've had a lot of emergencies, real emergencies that they've had to deal with. So what I would recommend is that we tell everyone we know, if you're comfortable with that and you're going to the parks, let's start with us and start self-policing. And then, there is that habitual offender that irritates me. And again, I'm not at Woodland, but it was somebody at Woodland who's now come over to Cherry Lawn. I am worried about that shift over because we have such a good group at Cherry Lawn. But tomorrow if I see her and she's on an off time, I'm going to say, you're going to be fined. I don't know what the fine is. I don't know what our number is. It's $50 or $100.
49 something.
Yeah.
Chip was complaining about how it used to be $90.
Yeah.
And somehow along the years it dropped to
So we're going to research
Yeah.
why it was dropped, because the state, if you
Yeah.
follow the state rules, it's 95.
Yes. Yeah. So I would just say also with an article,
Does she have one dog or several dogs? The person you're talking
I see her with one.
about? All right.
But I just think that we also want to represent, we have a lot of newer people in town. As I said, there are people coming with new dogs, getting puppies and things like that. Darien digs dogs. We're a positive town, but let's follow the rules. So, what was so great about that invasive story was the way it was all done.
Absolutely.
So I think we can definitely get the message out, and I agree with you. But I would just say, let's...
I got a couple of thoughts.
Yeah.
My first thought is about Tilly and the geese situation. That's our property. We should be able to say,
Yeah,
there's no feeding of what.
100%.
That's it.
There's signs up that say that.
Yeah.
And we need to
So,
call the police on this.
Well, and find them.
if you find someone feeding someone, please call this number, because that's just not acceptable.
Right.
I feel like there's
So if you're
excessive feeding, right? If you live across from it, you're dumping out pounds of food, and I've seen kids go there and throw,
Oh, yeah.
crackers in and stuff like that. I'm not gonna call the cops on them.
No.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like this is more systemic. Like they've brought it upon themselves to have this mission almost.
Yeah.
to
Yeah. So it seems like there's potentially a few bad actors, and
Yeah.
discussions
It's
to be
just,
had. Yeah.
that's.
Should they, like, are we saying they should, people, when they witness that type of behavior, should they call the police?
Yeah.
Yep, and Ally,
Does the
Kat
police
and Ally
know?
encourage that.
Yeah, she
Okay, so
encouraged
does
it.
she know that we don't want the geese,
We
you know,
will make
fed
sure she understands that.
that way, there, okay?
I'll follow
Because this is
up.
almost a kind of a
Separate, but I'll follow that
separate
with
issue.
She
you.
said
Off
absolutely
leash.
do not engage.
She does not
engage.
want private citizens engaging in the enforcement of the
And
rules.
I'm worried about this because it does sound like it's getting a little aggressive over there.
Well, it
And
sounds like it's too, like, I feel like they've already engaged, and so now there's, like, the women recognize
It's two
this
specific
lady
people.
and her dog.
Yeah.
And even though even when the lady's there with her dog on leash, not during off-leash hours, not hurting any geese, there's conflict. So, I don't know,
Yeah, so hopefully that'll help, and I think that we have to reduce the pressure on that situation quickly, and if you could let them know that we've heard them, and we're gonna try and work on, yeah.
or at least like,
And that it's important.
have if the police is also aware of the situation,
Yep.
so if she
Yeah,
has to
take
call,
care of that.
they're not
Yeah.
like blindsided by it.
I'll
Right.
figure that.
They said even give her a description if you can.
Right, and if she lives across from the park, she can just open her doors and feed, all the geese can go into her yard, and she can feel free to feed them, and feel good
there
and feel good about it, and so on. So there's that. Now we get to the larger issue that, I don't know how long you've been on this commission, but
You
it's
and I a long time.
a long time. It's
Only
a long
Susan
time.
smokes us on that one.
So, yes. So the dog community is a really vital, important community to the town. And I think people have worked really hard on the off-leash hours. Susan Pertiman, Patty Police, you know, there's lots of care and thought about this community. I have gotten involved a bit because I'm over at Cherry Lawn Park, and I have approached people, and short of like flipping me the bird, I get absolutely no you know, it's just, sorry, not engaging, not going back to get my leash, just walking on. And with the situations that have occurred recently, I think that the commission really needs to take not just a hard look on signage and tweaking this and that. I think we really have to make a statement. And I think if it's not working, we should say it's not working. And this community that's trying to police themselves, and Patty, I know you work so hard, and all of your colleagues do too, but there are outliers that are not getting it. And it's risky for us. It's, you know, somebody's really gonna suffer, and I'm sorry that this puppy or little dog got his ear.
Well, that wasn't at Cherry Lawn, to be clear.
No,
That
but
was
we're
at
not
Highland.
talking just here long,
Yeah,
we're talking
yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
So, I hate to say it, but, you know, maybe we should consider what we're doing with the off-leash hours and rules. And I hate to have to go back and look at that again, but I really think we need some teeth in this besides the signage that we keep trying and trying.
And so why wouldn't you start with the enforcement of the animal control officer whose salary we pay?
Because my understanding from their indication is that he can't,
He
first
can
off,
ticket.
people disappear when they see him.
That's part of the problem.
They quickly put their dog on a leash, and then we're left with having to have these confrontations with people. And I've seen it firsthand, and it makes me nervous. Like, I want to do my job as a commissioner and go up to somebody, but I am nervous about doing that. And I think it's a lot to ask us to do that, and I think it's a lot to ask the police to get out there and have that really work. So I don't know what the answer is. I'd like to say it's more signage. I don't feel like it's working, so maybe we need to put a little teeth in this and say, we need to reconsider this off-leash business, and in a really serious way. And I know the dog, Patty, you know, I love your...
I understand, you're
I
gonna
don't know what
have
else to say.
massive, massive pushback on that, but I understand what you're saying.
Maybe we have
I'm gonna
go
encourage
through that.
everyone that I know to watch this meeting,
Okay.
and they
Please
need
do.
to understand,
Please do.
because there's so many people that do the right thing, right? So
maybe those
why, we don't want to, take away the rights for everyone who enjoys it every single day at places like Cherry Lawn where it's all different ages
One
and
moment,
a safe
just
place.
one moment.
Yes,
I respect
you're
it.
triggering me, I'm sorry. No.
I know, and I know your passion, and I
Yeah.
love your passion.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your passion. And I want to galvanize that passion so that those people who feel so passionately take care of this issue. Because we can't, we've tried to put the rules in, we've tried to talk to the police department, hopefully something will happen. We need your help to police this and make it work for the community. You're the dog person here, so I'm just looking at you.
I know.
But I'm sure there are lots of people with dogs.
And Kathy, I have an email from you
Yeah.
that says, I will no longer walk my dog in this park because of the off-leash dogs.
Well, and I thought
Which
you
part is
said.
this? That's
No,
not-
I know, but you said that. So
No,
here I
I-
have someone who volunteers their time to the community, to
And
our
I
parks,
love my dog.
who herself says, I don't feel comfortable being in that park with my dog. I'm sorry.
Is this Cherry Lawn? I'm sorry.
No,
She's talking about the
I-
Midlands.
And I wanted to go back to what you're saying, Amy. Are you finding that people are going off leash during non-off leash times? I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm not
They're in
saying.
off-leash areas,
Right.
and the complaint I got last week was that they were in an an off-leash area, so they were perfectly correct, but the dog was really threatening. And the woman said to them, please put your dog on a leash, I'm nervous. And the person just was rude to her, and it was super intimidating. So I think we should do all the things we're doing with more vigor and robust signage and everything else. We should continue on that. We should look to the police.
Right.
But I really beseech you and implore you to galvanize your group, which is such an important community to this town.
Yeah,
And
they volunteer and do so much for the Parks and
I
Rec.
respect them immensely,
as well.
Patty,
Yes,
as I do you too.
That's an example where I'd want to know who was being rude, because then I will go up. So when we hear these, this person said, and then you don't know anything about, I can't follow up with somebody.
It's hard for
And
that person in that
I can't have this
conversation to say,
conversation anymore.
excuse me, what is your name?
Right.
Yeah.
That's,
And what is
that's
your,
awesome.
Yeah. I get it.
I suppose in hindsight, when I went up to the woman, she actually had 3 dogs, and you were with me when I spoke with her. She walked right by, and I promise.
Was she a dog walker?
She was walking her off-leash dogs. You saw her during the invasives walk. I was stunned. I went up to her, and in front of our whole
I'm
group.
going to talk to you offline if it's the same person.
Okay, in front of the
Yeah.
whole group.
Yeah, because there's one person, and
and
she's not part of our group, so, but go ahead.
So
Yeah.
what I should have done, I should have gone up to her and said, hi, I'm Amy During.
Yeah.
What is your name?
Yeah.
Do you know? And
Yeah.
then I could have gone. That would have been good conflict resolution, right? I should have handled it better instead of going, hey, do you know that it's off leash? I could have done better in that instance. But I was nervous. I didn't like her, and she just walked right off.
I think it's also important to understand whether it's a one-off, how often? Is it more systemic, or is it more,
I think it's
a
a
one-off?
volume issue. I think it might, there might be perpetual people who
Because
are.
there will always be bad actors.
Yeah, they're bad actors who
even
are
when
doing
the
it over
system
and
is
over again.
good.
Right,
But I
yeah.
think right now we're having a culmination of a volume of incidents that we as a commission rightfully have to address with a little bit of teeth.
So to Amy's points, and those are great, I've talked to a couple of commission members and committee members prior to this. I also happen to get 2 new puppies for Christmas, which is the thing still. And we've been looking at dog parks, right? And Rowayton has one, New Canaan has one, which is run fantastically. Stanford has 2 or 3. I know that we have the off-leash dog park, and I know that the commission has looked into previously an actual fenced-in dog park. A fence can't cost that much. I know that there were challenges in some of the locations that we've been put forth previously, but would it be worthwhile, and I was saving this for new business, but this seems like the right time to potentially discuss it. There are certain barriers of entry to get into the new Canaan Park, right? You have to prove that the dogs are licensed and the dogs are spayed or neutered and that they're over 6 months old and things like that. So there's a world where we can hopefully start to contain where puppies don't get mauled by larger dogs or something like that, or split it into small dogs and large dogs, and obviously it's on your own discretion. And I know that open space is at a premium in this town, not lost on me. We do have beautiful space down here around Weed Beach. I don't know what it would take to put up a fence somewhere over on the far side. This is just an idea. I'm not saying that this is what we have to do. But is there a world where, as a commission, we start to look into a fenced-in off-leash dog park where, hey, that this is what's going on. If your kids are afraid, don't bring them in. And if your dog is not sociable, don't bring him in. And could Parks and Rec be able to work with the town clerk to make sure everyone's licensed? I'm sure that we could. Could we collect fees to make sure that on an annual basis they pay to get in? The one at New Canaan has, pin code that changes, I guess, annually, so that if you want to have your dog in there. I just think...
And people love that.
And
They love that.
And it's a fence. To me, this is a very low expense for the town, for what I imagine for dog walkers and dog
My understanding
grooming
about
people.
and we looked into this pretty carefully, and Patty can talk more about it, but my understanding is that
I can't be the only person being the dog. I really do
I
a
would-
lot for Parks and Rec.
to
So
chime in.
I can't be the only one
I'm
with the dog.
a
I'm not here.
35-year-old, or 35-year resident of Darien, and I've had dogs the entire time I've lived here. I'm a huge proponent of having some off-leash time, but I'm also extremely respectful of the areas that are not off-leash and the times that they're not off-leash. And I can tell you the biggest issue is signage. And it's not just the signage itself, it's what it says on the signs. When you started off saying Greenwich has the neon sign, that's what stops people. People will not walk by or drive by a dog with their dog hanging out the window, a big flashing sign. I go to Greenwich, I go to Todd's Point with my dog all the time when it's allowed. As soon as they put a neon sign up that says, dogs need to be leashed at this point on. They have one right on the beach. So you can only let your dog off at a certain point on the beach, at a certain time, at low tide. No one will walk by, I'm telling you, no one walks by the big sign because it's embarrassing. They walk by the small signs.
They also ticket there.
Yes.
They do, they have so many, like when I was there, they had so many, like 4 or 5 people, like someone at the front, people running all around. I mean, there's so much staff at Todd's Point, you wouldn't be.
But the last time I was there, which was just before they closed it for dogs, there's nobody policing it. The sign's still up there, and the sign is up there all the time, and it gets people to follow the rules because they know if they break the rules, it's going to ruin it for everybody. And I honestly believe that it would be the same thing in this town. I never understood
It's a good
why.
idea.
Well, no, and honestly, and it's not just a neon sign. It's a combination of everything that people have said. Put a big sign up that says $500 fine or whatever you want to make it if you let your dog off the leash. And put the phone number of the police department. Please call this number if you'd like to report somebody off leash. Make that sign this big and this big so people cannot walk on the path without seeing it. That would not be a big expense. The other thing is the dog park at Cherry Lawn. I mean, I hate to say this, I'm so appreciative of the space, but it's useless because there's no fence and it's right next to the road. I'll never take my dog there. I don't want my dog running out and it's terrifying.
I can't take my dog there for the same reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, so please don't take this the wrong way, but if you're a dog person, you understand these issues a lot more. I can tell you, I have approached many people that have had dogs off the leash in areas that they're not supposed to, and I say, you need to put the dogs on the leash. It's bad for all of us. We will not be able to enjoy this park if you don't have the dogs on the leash during the times, and people put the dogs on the leash. They get embarrassed. If they walk right by you, I'll say, that's really not a good thing for any of us, and embarrass them. But there are not that many people. I've had so many so many places that I've gone with dogs, and I've had maybe 2 encounters over years and years and years of this, because people understand if you explain to them that it will ruin it for everyone. And if they don't care about that, put a big sign up that says you're gonna be fined.
Yeah.
And there's a police phone number. If I wanna call that number because you're not cooperating and doing what I ask, I'm gonna call that number and the police are gonna come and fine you.
Lori, do you remember the flashing sign? I'm sorry, do you remember when we had to close the parking at Weed during COVID for a little bit, and they put the flashing sign up by Hinley, and then they put it down there, and they didn't leave it up long, but it was like for that weekend when things were going to be shut down. I mean, that would be ideal to start at Woodland, right? $500 fine, whatever it's going to be. Please walk your dog unleashed, or wherever. I don't mean to say that different
It's only 2
spots.
times during the day,
Yeah.
when there's problems at Woodland, I know, because I walked the park before my dog was sick, during other odd times. It's at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and there's people who just don't put their dogs on leash. They see me, now they put their dog on the leash when I walk in. I'm the enforcer, but, you know, these signs were torn down. I must have put up 25 of them. I love them, Patty. I
Right,
think
they
they're
were
great.
up at Cherry Lawn,
Huge.
they didn't get torn down.
I
I know it's
know.
a different environment there, but my point was, that I don't know if that was a police sign that we borrowed for 2 days, Pam? Or 3 days?
How hard is it to get that?
Well, we have 2. One wasn't working correctly. I don't know if they ever fixed it.
The one from
Okay.
Works like what?
And the one that we used had to be programmed. So it had, the police would, I mean, they wouldn't let us program it. So they would have to come out and program it. I have no idea. With all the projects that are going on in
Yeah.
town, they may very well be using that.
Right, or maybe
For
that can be
construction.
Chips, you can say to Chip,
Or
like,
or it could be.
we're coming to
you have
the
put
end
in
of
budget
April,
for a
can it
project
be
to
May
happen.
1st? Like, let's really focus on enforcement.
You mean
You know.
buy your own sign?
I mean, because they're, with all the projects, I'm sure that that's that. I mean, look at all the
Like
construction.
roadshow
going on.
Yeah, we should.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the other
It's a great
thing that I
idea.
noticed as an observer, long before I ever joined this committee, right, was that as a dog observer, I've gone to look on the town website for the rules about dogs. And the last time I looked, before I got involved in all this, it was so outdated, and I had to dig and find out what were the actual rules.
Well, that we addressed.
I don't think so. I don't think it's updated.
But Jamie's
Yeah,
updated all
yeah.
of those, Jamie
Yeah.
Boyd.
They updated it all.
But maybe there's a way, for a living, I design websites and do so, maybe putting, because it's such a big dog community, maybe putting a little tab on the homepage of the website that just says doggy do's and don'ts, or whatever, you know, to make it really obvious, so you don't even have to dig. Say, here's the latest
Well,
dog rules.
the link that we're sending to the dog licensees goes directly to the rules.
Right, and everybody will get one with their license.
And that's
So
great.
what about having people sign an acknowledgement of the rules as they get their license?
It's a great,
Good idea.
great.
It's possible, but it's not my department. You're asking the town clerk's
Yes.
office to man that, and they're happy to hand out the flyer. I don't
I feel
know.
like we do have to do something like that. When I did my dog license, I think you have to abide by the rules of the town.
And you have an acknowledgement that you have to sign?
I'm pretty sure.
I
I mean, in order to buy the license. you have to-
Acknowledgement of
A
the
little
park
green
rules, I
card.
think is what we're asking for, it's just a little bit different.
Well, no, I think in this, with the dog license, it's acknowledgement of the dog rules.
Yeah,
It's not.
copy of the sign.
Yeah, it should be the same as like you get your license revoked if you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm conscious that
Wait, I want.
everybody wants short meetings, we've been on this topic for a very long time.
I was just gonna say one thing about the dog park you brought up, Chris. That came up when we had our whole dog conversation, and we were told that people did not want a dog park.
I thought it was part of the master plan.
No, originally when we did the whole dog years, we were told nobody was interested in it, don't put effort into it. We want our off-leash times out within the park and not in enclosed, because that the behavior of the dogs don't want to be enclosed. This was what we were told. That was many years ago. And then the other point I wanted to make is that I have to tell you, we spent so much time on it. I think the dog subject was our #1 ever attendance for people that came and spoke about it and all this. It's just one of those issues that isn't a simple answer, and that we can even try to figure out a little time at this meeting at this point. I think that if we want to revisit it, it's definitely going to be challenging.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I think
it's
that
not
a problem with the hours.
it's
or
not the hours, it's the
locations.
enforcement. It's always
It's
been
the
the enforcement. And
So I step back from that.
and because
discussion a bit, because
those hours were developed in a
It's
very
really the
thoughtful way.
enforcement issue. Yes,
They were developed because we did the Cherry Lawn Parks hours based upon when we thought that it would be the safest time with kids.
No, I get it.
We purposely, I mean, it was so, we also wanted to be mindful at that point, we didn't have as many dogs in town, but we had a good, passionate population of people that had dogs then. And now it's even more people, and it's dogs, and the interesting thing that's different is that now it's dogs and kids together. So I'm not sure the separate hours, like we thought we were protecting the kids by saying, we're gonna do it at this time when they're in school. Because that's the whole idea, is that the off-leash hours were purposely longer when kids were in school, and shorter when in the summer when we thought there'd be more kid usage. But now with people bringing their kids and their dogs to the park, I'm not sure how that's gonna work if people decide that they wanna do off-leash.
Just in
So
closing,
to that end, are you suggesting that we do revisit the hours? Because I
I-
don't think
that's-
I
I mean,
haven't heard complaints. I stepped back from what I said before. I do think it is specifically an enforcement issue. I haven't heard complaints about the hours or the locations.
Okay, so then the
So-
rules are good as they are, but you're saying.
That's what
the
it
enforcement-
sounds like, but the enforcement issue is becoming so frustrating for us all and dangerous for dogs.
I agree, by the way, I mean, having seen these things, maybe the answer is we have a park monitor certain times of the year. Maybe we say, we want our own park monitor that's separate from Chip, and they're allowed to give out tickets.
so
That's,
in
and
all
then we're in
respect,
charge of that
yeah.
person. And you know what, if it's a public safety thing, I'm comfortable with advocating for that, for our commission, to have our own person that deals with dog infractions, because it's obviously not being taken. And we've done this so many years, I'm so tired of like getting another thing, oh yeah, they don't get tickets, it's like a broken record, it goes on every so often, it just comes on.
And infractions should probably be linked to Krista,
Yeah,
who renews the licenses.
That's a great idea.
That is a
I agree.
Janet.
Just like driver's license.
Yeah,
You
great
gotta
idea.
renew it.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's really the answer, not so much.
Like, after, not like one time, but after
Yes.
certain.
Because we
Habitual
were
and
talking this issue,
Yes,
already,
yes. I think it's a brilliant idea.
I agree with you, safety is the most important thing here, that we need to worry about.
I think that's a brilliant idea, and in combination
Yeah,
with this,
yeah.
we might
Work with the
have a
town.
winning solution if we just can pay for it, right?
So-
Pam?
with
Yeah, that's
But I do think the signage and all that, like we should
Yeah.
do it
Like
all.
it's a make it easy for dog
Yes.
owners who don't
Yeah.
break the rules to
Right.
help enforce it, because it
Yeah.
can't be Patty and her group.
No.
I don't even know who that group is. I mean, I'm friends with Patty and her dogs.
Can we
and
talk
everything,
about
but, you know,
playground invasives, pear trees?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, all right, so last thing, just in closing, I would like to mention, we have meetings coming up. I would suggest that, the 12 of us shouldn't be the ones speaking about this specifically. And why do we not actually work for more public comment in the next month or 2 or 3? And I mean, we can talk to Darien Times, we can put together a letter to the editor or something like that, or just try to at least say, hey, we have these meetings, we're talking about what's going on with dogs. Do you want a dog park? Do you want off-leash hours? Should we change these things?
I'm always, we have so much on our plate as commission right now, and I think as Susan said, the issue isn't the hours we've provided, we're not getting,
Or
it's
amenities,
an event, it's people,
enforcement, yeah.
too many people aren't following.
Yeah, let's just get to the customary.
Just feel like hearing from the public would be best, but, okay.
So just going back, notwithstanding, that people can always come and talk to us,
Yes,
right?
always.
Just going back to Susan's suggestion with you, how do we pursue that how do we get our own person policing?
Well, our park monitor can't.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, you guys, because that's gonna be a part-time or full-time FTE, which means then benefits, which means then it's $100,000 line item job. We'd rather have somebody in the Parks and Rec maintenance crew.
Well, we have a park monitor, we have that.
No,
system.
no, I know,
They can't
but-
give tickets.
Can
Yeah.
we get badges and whistles?
They can't.
I'm kidding.
They can't give tickets?
No,
But I think you have a few good starting ideas.
The captain said that
Yeah.
the monitor's got a problem, they should have made, said that like, they should have been called
Can I
on.
just go back to Chip, how many hours does he actually work being our animal warden again?
I think 35.
35,
So
yeah.
That's pretty full-time.
No, he's full-time and he's, no nights and no weekends.
Which, you know.
But he also, as
He's
it's explained
on
sometimes, he has a lot of I
Yeah.
mean, the morning we met with him, which I think was at 10 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
he had already had 3 or 4 different animal type issues that he had to deal with in the morning that had nothing to do with
Like
dogs,
raccoons.
like raccoons in people's garages.
Oh, he deals with
Any
residential.
animal issue,
Oh.
any animal issue.
So he's not, he doesn't only work for the
No.
parks?
No, he doesn't work for the Parks and Rec,
Or
police
work
department.
at the parks, okay.
Right, no, anybody who has an animal issue in their yard, in town, whatever.
Why
he's-
is the town responsible for having, if someone has an animal in their garage?
Yeah, you just have,
I just
tell
thought,
like a
no,
private.
I thought, I've seen
Yeah,
posts where
control.
people say, I need help removing a raccoon
This is
or
what was
something in
explained to
my
us.
attic.
There
I
was an
didn't,
issue with the swan that morning, the point is,
He does not.
this is not his sole responsibility.
So can we summarize what we are gonna do, maybe?
What we have done is we have communicated with the police who have committed to supporting us to the best of their abilities. They
Can ticket.
And can ticket and will ticket. They have encouraged us not to engage as individuals, but to call them. And she said, this is not a problem, call us. I mean, if they're out on emergencies, then they're not gonna come, but if they have availability, they will absolutely come. We discussed with them increased signage, and Pam is working on that, bigger metal signs. We talked about including this phone number on the sign, so it's
And the
available to the
fine.
public.
Yeah.
We're working with the town clerk to make sure that the renewal postcard has the link to the rules, and that every renewal, when they get, I guess you get a piece of paper, a license, will include a copy of the rules. So those are some of the actions, we are
Can we have them
taking.
sign it? Can we have them?
That we'll have to find out what they sign.
Okay.
And so those are some of the steps we've taken. We're working on, increased signage, the parks monitor.
What about inquire about the big flashing sign, if there's availability?
We can see if that's available. Our summer park monitor will be starting fairly shortly, and, certainly the actual boots up, the additional boots on the ground absolutely does help, and that individual will know if, they're seeing issues again. But it really gets down to getting the support for the enforcement.
how many hours does the book monitor work?
We have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so not on Monday, Tuesday.
And then when do they start? It's just for the summer, again.
I'm asking for mid-May.
Mid-May
Mid-May
to-
start to September 5th.
Okay, so that's a decent amount of time. I mean, that might help too.
How many are there?
One.
That's Chip.
No,
That's a lot.
It's an additional park patrol monitor that goes from Selks Woods, Woodland,
I see.
beaches,
Rotates.
Tilly. and
Rotates.
Just makes an invisible presence.
And they can call the police?
Yes.
They
They
can't
would.
ticket themselves either?
Correct.
No.
They can,
But
okay.
they can try to enforce the rules.
They
If they
will
don't get
approach-
anywhere, yes.
Okay.
And
But are you saying they are the people, when people see them, they will just like put
no,
the leash
that's
on?
Chip.
Okay.
Yeah, probably too. but-
They'll probably get to know this fellow too.
What about a
Or woman.
positive story in the paper? Like, we are Darien Digs Dogs, we want people to follow the rules, we don't want to have to go to, steps where we take away rights. What about we try and do that into the paper and on social media channels, because not people to read the paper? And try and do that as well.
Yep,
And try
yep.
and get some, support for it. It can't hurt, it might not help, but it can't hurt.
We're gonna be short-staffed, so.
I know.
So we're gonna, it's a really tough time to have a void. And plus, we have so many other positions open. We have Sandy's position open, most likely internal, then we'll have another opening. I mean, so we will do whatever we can possibly do. But there's
Pam is, and I was going to
not too
bring
many
this up
hours in the day.
in my president's report. Pam is facing a lot of staffing challenges right now, so we're all going to have to be mindful and step up and help wherever we can, because she's,
Sarah's staying
oh,
till July, so that's good.
once a month.
Good, yeah, so, but that helps.
Okay, but a lot of, the office is short-staffed right now. Jamie's the big boy. Sandy was promoted, that's great, but that opens up his position, so. I mean, but she's only staying another month.
She's gonna work through June and into July to help us out.
Okay.
Because we also have You know, Alicia has her camps and challenges too.
James?
Yeah. she
Oh,
took
and
that.
then after that, yeah, Jamie's taking another position.
Okay,
So,
I think these are good things.
okay, great. Okay, that was a long discussion. Sorry, I can't. Meet Mrs. Daly's standards of getting a meeting over quickly. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna put these things on. I think we gotta talk about them. Okay, this next one, why don't we don't get the money until July 1st, so I don't think we have to have a big discussion on this now, but maybe we can just tackle how we want to think about it. Assuming the $18,000 remains in the budget that gets approved by the RTM shortly, remains, we will have money starting July 1st for beautification. I think you'll remember we asked for 40, and it got cut back to 18. The thinking was, we didn't go in with a fixed plan. Like, we didn't say we want, 2,000 for these 6 bushes at this park, and then we just kind of picked a number and said we'd like, some money for each park. So they said, this is a first year, let's see what they do with it, and then going into next year's budget season, hopefully we can, spend more time really thinking about it and saying, okay, how much do we really, need for the beautification? But presumably we will be getting $18,000 to use throughout the park. So what we will need to start working on is a commission or a working group or whatever is how we want to, allocate that. We're going to take a peanut butter approach and spend $2,000 at each park. Do we want to prioritize a few parks? How do we identify the needs? So again, we have some time, and you also wouldn't necessarily start planting in July. Not the best time, so it might be even moving into the fall. So we have the whole year, but I just wanted to get it out there in terms of thinking about how we want to approach it, and then building the infrastructure, the methodology around it, so that if we want to, annually say, every year we need to, replace some plants or whatever, how we're going to go about doing
Do we
this.
have a definition of how these funds can be spent?
Not really, we just asked for beautification.
But it's only plant material, not painting or chairs, right? It's
I believe our vision was this was more plant materials. Yeah, Pam has a budget for, painting and maintenance, whatever. I think this was more to spruce things up.
Lori, this is separate and apart from attacking the invasives?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
This is just for aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
Inclusive flower pots
It
that we've asked for.
possibly could, yes. We could say, do we want to have flower pots and annuals, or do we want to do more, bushes, or, now last month the garden club came to us and has offered to do around the gazebo at Tilly, which is awesome, but had they not, we could just say, well, where are a couple sort of iconic places in our parks that could look a lot better. They identified that one for us, and watching it back, I'm like, this is fabulous, because that is a key part, and it really looked so much nicer. So we need to start thinking about, do we want to think about a few key places in various parks that we really want to do more of a high impact, or is it going to, as I said, more peanut butter, a little here, a little
Maybe
there.
we can talk to the garden club about guiding us with that.
That would be,
And because they have the vision,
and the expertise.
the garden
The
club
garden club.
who's doing the plan at Tilly, so they have the eye, they have the vision. We ask them if they'll go to Pear Tree, if they'll go to Wheat Beach, if they'll go to Cherry, and see what type of plants they can do. Because they were all instrumental in the plants that are there now at Cherry Lawn.
Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry. I do want to just reiterate that one of the things that Kate Bush said, who was part of, she's the town administrator, she's the one who did cut it back from 40 to 18. But at least we got that, y'all got that in, remember, when it wasn't even there before, so that's great. She had said, not only would she have liked to have seen more support of it, she said she's viewing this more as a beta test. And so instead of spreading it all out, she felt that she would have liked to seen it at one or two parks going forward. Let's see what we can do with this $18,000. So I'm just reiterating for y'all what the town administrator said. And then my question to you, Pam, is the $8,000 for the invasives, that's the bid for those guys that we walked with, Amy and Mary Louise and Lori, to take out, right?
Right.
So my suggestion might be part of that 18, whatever segment you all want to make, goes towards putting in some spots where you've taken out the invasives and now you're putting in some good things around that pond to beautify it. It's just a suggestion.
No, it's a good idea. Nature needs a void.
Say what?
Nature needs a void. They'll fill in with something else.
Yeah, nature will fill in.
Yeah,
No,
so
it's
you
a
want
good
to fill
idea.
in.
To do it, to a hand in glove with the investment, it's a discussion.
Yeah.
No, that's
Great.
it.
So, not that we don't need any committees, but do we have a few people who would like to tackle this, or do we want to work on it as
I
a?
would love to tackle putting together a plan for what could be done at fair trade. I'm happy to reach out to the garden club and bring it before the working group and this group of what could be done. Less than 18,000 and something so people can think about that.
The 18,000 isn't just for fair trade, right?
No, it's not, but I'm saying that the plan will be to make, it will be a $100,000 plan, but something that could be done within this at fair trade.
It's for all the parks.
Pear tree is one that definitely could use sprucing up around that building and so on. And it would not cost. Sure.
Just
All right. There's 1,000, 2,000.
We're talking offline about this, but I
Also,
had a
entrance
conversation with the
to each
beautification commission
Before you get to
about pear tree, about the,
the,
because they do the.
Sorry.
the entrance to Weed,
The garden.
where the garden is.
Yeah.
That could use some sprucing up.
Well, it's all been cut back.
Yeah,
Because
because
it got overgrown, because when people come in and they give us a gift, and then 5 years later, they're no longer around, there's no maintenance.
they're all natives. They were done by the garden club, so it's like echinacea, a lot of the native plants that do come
Yeah.
back. It's just that, as you know, natives take longer to come back in the spring. So a lot of times you have to fill in the annuals to make the space look pretty
Right.
until those guys fill in. So that's really, but that was planted out as part of the garden club. They gave us the donation and they did all the plantings around the dunes also. There's the false blue indigo. I don't know if you know on the dunes, there's a bunch of different things. But I think I do like the idea of spending some money at Cherry Lawn because I think you're gonna have a lot of big voids. When you take those weeds out, and I think you're gonna have trees and it's gonna, understory's gonna look kind of bare and you're either gonna have to put some lawn there, but I don't necessarily want more grass. I probably want to see some native plants to attract birds and pollinators. So
Yeah, I
I
also
don't
think the
know.
neighbors are gonna feel exposed once we take
Yeah.
out all that invasive stuff, so we might need to.
Like you need
have
something on the
eye
bottom
towards
level.
that. So maybe, and what's good is that now you're on this committee, you're also on the invasives committee, so you can kind of
maybe, yeah, Mary Lou's
toggle
really good
that
at
a
that.
little bit on that one.
I'm sorry.
I think we can work with the garden club. and
Or the
possibly
Darien
work with the
pollinator.
pollinator
I was gonna
pathway.
say the Darien pollinator group would love
Did I
to
just
help.
throw your hand up? No, I hope not. It's fine.
I would ask Deepa that and Juliet, because they have a lot of thoughts, and they've been working a lot with the Nature Center, so
Right.
that space is very connected, so.
No, I think you're right.
But draw on subject matter experts, but then, you know, focus on getting to, okay, where are some, pockets that you say we want to make a few statements and say, okay, here's a section that really needs a facelift, that people are going to come in and say.
Okay.
Okay.
So do we have a chair for the beautification funds?
Do we need to have a chair for this?
Or
Just-
a committee?
You guys talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk, we'll figure it out. As I said, we don't even have the money till July 1st.
We
Other
can't
than if we,
thank in July, so.
unless we want to do some annuals somewhere. If we think we want to get, a few planters and stuff and some annuals at Pear Tree or wherever, then we have to make sure, the lifeguards or somebody would have to,
Water them.
water them. Which
That's
is
the biggest challenge.
annuals. But,
When are the invasives coming up?
Okay, that's a whole other subject.
Should we talk about it during your meeting?
We're on our way.
we're on our way, we're on our way, okay, all right, so we want to talk about, everybody's gonna I just wanted to get on everybody's radar, that we asked for this money, we're getting this money, but we have to be planful about, figure it out, and be aware of, timing, because it's really, probably going into the fall, we really have to know what it is we want to do. Because we're not going to be ready for the spring because of the budget season. All right, so we'll get the report from the working groups. I'm really excited. We have, excited and scared. We have so much going on. I think more certainly than in my tenure, Amy's and Susan's on the commission in terms of projects we've picked up and things going on. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of activity, but there's a lot of activity. So, we have to, and we have to be mindful again that Pam's,
Yeah, she's on a lot.
she's on a lot and just checking, keep up on this too. So we'll just get updates. Playground, who's going to report?
We just
playgrounds?
had our meeting. We're planning. We meet every 3 weeks, and we do them on. I think this is the playground one. This was Wheat Beach. I'm sorry.
It was Thursday.
It was Thursdays. Every 3 weeks. It's Thursday, April 28th is the next meeting at 8:45. We had to be really mindful because so many people on our committee are actually young parents, and because we talked about representation last time, that they're from all the 5 elementary schools, and they have preschoolers all the way up to 5th graders, and maybe even so. We had to be very conscious of that. The other thing that we did for the playground committee was we did break out into the different playgrounds to kind of become subject area experts, because we felt like each park had their own audience, like, Baker versus Cherry Lawn versus McGuan, so that we can kind of divide and conquer a little bit. So we broke up, and the next time we meet, we're going to talk about those unique, because, like Baker's more of a pocket park, right? People, it's a neighborhood park. Just the different dynamics, just to see what we're working with each park. We also did, what else did we do? Yeah, I felt like we talked, we only kept it an hour, so we
broke
wrote
down subcommittees.
Yeah.
Broke down subcommittees and basically asked each member of the group chose a park they were more mindful about and spend more time at. And so we're basically asked, go out, visit this park that you've chosen, and then go out to local surrounding
they
parks.
asked us if we were doing focus groups, and I said, you are the focus group. You're the people, you're going to reach out to your friends, we're not going to do anything like a formal questionnaire as a commission, but that's why you're on this committee, because you're going to be our eyes and ears for all of this stuff. And I think they were very happy about that,
I think so too, and there's a great representation.
I think so.
And which is really nice, of all different ages and all different, in all the schools, so I think that's great.
Yeah,
And Curtis Butler from the RTM, who's on the education committee, and he's going to kind of be our ADA from an end user, because of he has a daughter who's severely handicapped, but is very active, and they take her everywhere. So we'll be able to really use him as a touch point for what works, what doesn't work, what would you like to see, what are some of the playgrounds we should go and check out that have more handicap accessible things. And the other thing that we talked about is, that may not work at all 3 of the parks, right? It may not work at Baker because of the hill, right? But it definitely is going to work at McGuan. And so I think it's a nice balance of people working on it. Yeah, I agree. Great job.
You're going to go talk to the different playground providers.
I did, and I spoke to Game Time, who we've used in town. We have Game Time equipment here, and kind of discussed the fact that look, he knows we have these projects. Of course, he wants the job. There's many companies that he's competing with, many. But most towns use companies that have state contracts, so they don't have to budget it. And but I really feel as if a good strategy would be and I've reached out to my colleagues around Connecticut to ask what companies they've used and would reuse again, to see if I can find a common thread, and then choose perhaps 3. We give them our budget and we say, give us your plan. Design a playground, what you would do with all the bells and whistles for this amount of money, and give our group an opportunity to see them all laid out. Everything could be changed because you can implement what you've seen in that park.
I think that's part of the reason we wanted the people to report back who the users are, because I want to give that information to the park vendor, the equipment vendors, because if we're geared towards a younger age group at certain parks and not at others, the equipment should be appropriate to that age group.
Of course.
We're not going to say, hey, we have X number of dollars, design something. We're going to say, this is how much work we have, these are the type of people using it and how they use it, just really talk it through. Because it would be impossible to build something that, let's say we're building for older kids and they don't even use that parking more.
Right. No,
It
exactly.
has to be appropriate, and we feel the need to make it, enduring and the population that we're here, But we do want to also have older apparatus at Cherry Lawn, because we figure that kids like to do,
Well,
there's
every
more
single
older
one
kids.
of them is 5 to 12.
Yeah,
Cherry Lawn has the 18-month to 5-year-old.
so we have younger there.
Right, so, and he also said that he would be available to not do a sales pitch, but to talk to the group on a virtual call about the variety of things that they're out there. Because there's not only just a play skate, but they're play climbers. You see, the net climbers are hugely popular.
We're
so-
gonna get educated, in
Yeah.
other words, in terms of what's out there. Because
So that would be really fun, I think, for the group too, just to listen to, an expert talk
And
about.
we're gonna make them try it out too. If they have places where they, actually put them in place, we're gonna say, hey, would you mind going to Westport and
Right,
checking that out?
Yeah.
field trips.
Yeah, field trips. We did that all the time for Playground by the Sound. It was the most fun part of it.
Greenwich uses this particular company, Game Time, for all of their parks. They use Game Time.
What's the timing in terms of when, does anybody know, like, the ARPA funding, I know it has to go
We
to
have
the
till
state or
2026.
It's a lot.
It has
When
to
does
be-
it become available?
It's available now.
It's available.
Oh, it is?
Well-
Okay.
We can start getting.
It's available,
It's
but,
available.
yeah.
So our
I mean,
group
we
has to be
talked about with
priority.
the group,
Yeah.
it's not likely we would be doing 3 playgrounds at the same time.
No, understood, I just didn't know, I
Yes,
thought I heard something
yes.
about there were certain filings we still had to do with the
Yeah.
state, and.
It's
there
still,
were-
and they do have to present the plan to the state.
Okay.
But we do have monies already, and then it just has to be completed, the project, by 2026.
Okay.
So,
We have to move quicker on because of the surfacing thing.
Right.
Right.
So we know that. And
That's
then
top
I just
priority.
wanted to bring, I think Pam sent it to you guys with the meeting. It's just a playground inventory about the equipment and the age. So just to show you that she did do that for the group so that we have kind of figured, we know what's happening in each of our parks and the age of the equipment. But we're on a roaring start and we're
Yeah, it's
meeting on the
exciting.
28th. Again, so we're meeting every 3 weeks. We don't, we want to give people time to actually do the work and give assignments to report back. So.
Sounds like a fun project.
Especially when you have money.
That's the best.
Fine.
no fundraising for that one.
Okay,
You're right.
invasive.
Invasives. Okay, I guess I'll start. So we met, I guess, a little over 3 weeks ago.
March 26th.
March 26th, yes. There were about 8 of us, and
We had Laura Mosher, who's an advanced master gardener. Chris Filmer was there. Patty, Lori, Amy, me, Jimmy Ma, who's a specialist in trees. And we got a commitment from Juliet Kane and also Topeka, that will help us. They were not there with us that particular day.
Do they want to be put on the group?
Yes.
Okay, then I have to email them the link for tomorrow,
Oh, okay, all right,
right? Because I didn't know that they were on. And I sent you all a list
all right.
of everybody that I understood was part of that working group.
Right.
Those 2 are not on it. And Jimmy Ma, I put on today, but I don't have an email address. So I did leave him a voicemail today.
Right.
he takes it.
So he may not get the link
Yeah.
at all for tomorrow.
And we also met with Chris Andrianas and his partner Nick Conti, who are with Stony Brook Turf, who have agreed to take this on starting July 1st. And they've given us quotes in terms of how they're going to attack this. And what we all did is walked Cherry Lawn, and we're going to focus on Cherry Lawn to start with. And we identified 3 sections, A, B, and C. A is the area immediately adjoining the pond. If you're in the gazebo looking out, that whole section is section A. Then as you move over towards the basketball court, that is B, and it runs all the way back. And then finally, C runs along the back of the gardens. So at the moment, we only have enough money to really tackle A and maybe start to move into B a little bit.
It's a big job.
Yeah, it is.
Huge, and it's complicated also because of the time of year that we are given the funds and the growth of, of the invasives. Right now would be a great time to get in and start working on it, but we don't have the money until the invasives are going to be larger. So there are also, we sort of have a two-pronged approach on this. One is with Stony Brook turf, we go by SBT, which thank you Pam, she discovered them. And you could meet with other people as well. But anyway, so hiring a professional and do some clearing and so on with no pesticides or anything. That's very clean. And then the other prong of this would be some sort of volunteer effort. And kind of galvanize a group of citizens to help. I have a meeting with someone who, they use goats actually. They use them in Bedford, they use them in New Canaan. And I'm going to talk with the person who runs the program with the goats up in New Canaan. And I should probably speak with the dog people too, because I don't know how dogs and goats get along, and I don't know about all that
We've
stuff.
heard about Beverly Beach too.
Okay, so I'll find out information for that, and I'll dovetail with whomever I'm advised to do that with, in terms of just goats and everything, I'll put that.
Don't they enclose them? I believe, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know anything about goats, except I know they love poison ivy, and.
I know, I've seen them do it, so they usually put a fencing around the group, so they don't
So it should be okay.
run off or run into.
Yeah.
I think they move them, it's like cattle, they move them from space to space to graze.
Yeah, I would think they would have to, because you couldn't have goats running all over a trail. That wouldn't really make sense, so.
And they also eat everything.
Yeah.
They eat everything.
They eat everything, they eat the sides of buildings. I mean,
Wow.
my neighbor had two.
So I thought it would be a good
Inside
idea to pursue that and see where that goes.
That's why they fence them in.
Yeah.
Because they're-
Well, if they eat everything, how do we know that they'll be eating the right things and not right?
Yeah, because we only
That's a
want them
question
to
to
eat
ask,
the
maybe.
invasives
Yeah.
and not.
They come out early.
Do you want to be on the goat committee?
A goat?
Somebody with
No,
me?
thank you.
Do that, you know, just-
I'm done.
just because you need another committee.
Yeah, I mean, this is different, I mean, I've read about this up in Martha's
The goats,
Vineyard,
yeah.
we're using goats to control
Yeah,
invasives,
so
so
I'll
we'll
look
just have to learn
I'll
about
look
it.
into some.
This is, Amy, can I ask you, this is post. Are you thinking about this post? Because we're spending $8,000 with Stony Brook to take the things out. Are you talking about, so for maintenance a year from now to do that?
I'm looking at.
I think she's learning.
Okay. I'm just trying to
I don't
understand
really have a plan.
the
I don't
financial
even know
costs.
what kind of fence. I don't know
Okay.
anything about the goats. I'm just raising. But I'm gonna try and find out about them, and we're gonna try and figure out the volunteers, et cetera. These are just sort of our planned trajectories.
And we also probably need an arborist at some point to come in.
Yeah, so Jimmy Ma is not an arborist, but, and in fact, he and I were gonna meet this weekend to continue on our tree inventory project. And he said, listen, we've really gotta postpone it because it's easier for him to identify trees when they have leaves, so.
I thought he already did that. He has that book of the inventory
I know,
of trees.
isn't it fantastic? So that book is basically special trees.
Species.
All around Darien.
Around Darien.
Okay.
This is an effort that we're working on to determine the volume of trees and the identification of trees within, for now, Cherry Lawn Park. And it's actually a larger project than I thought it was going to be because there are some trees. There are a lot of trees there. So I'll be pursuing that in May, continuing to pursue that in May. So I think you're going to get us the minutes, right, from the
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
and then the next step is to schedule another meeting.
We have a meeting tomorrow.
Well, there is tomorrow.
Right, and
And
then
then
set a
schedule
schedule,
this-
yeah, and then also, we come up with some sort of long-range plans, because I did mention the invasives issue when I went to the Board of Finance to plead for our budget. And they really took note of it, and were interested in it. I gave them some pictures of Cherry Lawn, and I really laid the groundwork to say, this isn't a one and done, this is a really pretty large issue throughout town, and I expect that we'll be coming back for more money each year, and they encouraged us to, again, get a frame around it, and, longer term, say, okay, start thinking about what, how you see this as adding to your annual budget in terms of your need to get this under control. But they were very, very receptive. I think, we read about, how Stanford's dealing with it. I mean, it's getting recognized as, something that's, problematic. So it's good, but that means, again, that's what we got to do all our homework and say, we're getting 8,000 this year, but is it really going to be 25,000 a year? Or, what's this going to be longer term? We have to start preparing for this.
Right. And if we have gaps because we can't take out things this year, what does that impact? Because then other things grow back. So,
Herein lies the rub,
I know.
There's just not enough money, the timing is off, and if we can just get visibility, which, fantastic article.
It was great.
If we can get some, if we can get some visibility and we can get some, get up and go on a project, hopefully it'll get some momentum.
And awareness, even, the yellow, the celandine, whatever. I mean, now I'm looking at my next door neighbor's yard.
It's all over.
Oh my God, there's like everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not pesticides, it's actually put cardboard over it with mulch on top and suffocated it.
It's all over when I was just walking through Tilly Pond.
Yeah, but,
It's all over
what they
there.
say is that that it's great at erosion control, so if you have a spot where you don't know what you're gonna put in, that stuff keeps soil where it needs to stay. If you need it for the short term, I'm just saying sometimes you
Nightmare, it just takes off.
it does, it's in everybody's lawn.
And they're little bulbs
And they're all about it.
and people are, and
It's
they're
a-
really hard to get out, and
Yes.
people just go, you don't want that, right?
Can I ask a question about from
Yes.
under a volunteer standpoint, as you're saying? You will definitely have a lot of volunteers at Cherry Lawn. You will have all the dog people that helped me put down all the wood chips last year on Earth Day, 2 Saturdays in a row. They did it. They're happy to do that. They want to help. You'll have the pickleball people. You have other people who just hang out with their kids. So that is the ultimate community park, I think, for Darien. My question is, I was thinking, wow, I would have loved to have done something for Earth Day this Saturday for the volunteers to do again, and I would have loved to have done, and the paths are still pretty good back there where we laid so many chips, but I was thinking it would have been great if, Laura or somebody could have tagged things, even just behind the garden, Mary and Louise, and we could have gone in with clippers to take out some of the invasives, but I don't know what is what. So, I could probably still turn that volunteer effort around, if not this Saturday, next Saturday, to get a start on that.
I think that's a great idea.
But because people want to do things,
Are
and
you
they're
coming
tied
tomorrow?
in to that. Yes.
So great, I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea to bring
Yeah,
up.
I know Woodland Park is doing an event for Earth Day. The Darien Nature Center is doing something, and
Then we don't have to wait for them, we
we
can
don't have to
get
wait for the money, we can
volunteers.
start that,
Yeah.
right? They can't be George of the Jungle climbing up and getting those big stringy
No,
things
no,
down.
no.
But they can definitely be cutting down below, but we don't want to cut the wrong
The wrong
thing.
thing.
We just need
Yeah.
somebody to come in and put like pink bows about what we
Good,
can
great
take
idea.
out.
And Susan, turns out, it's like my cross-the-street neighbor for Joanne Gabriel. She's also a master gardener. And she'll be joining, I confirm, she's going to be joining the meeting tomorrow as well. She's excited about it, so. And she said, I know this woman. I'm like, oh, she lives across the street from me.
Yeah. Great, lovely.
So anyway, good progress, great press. I was really excited that Roger picked up on that article. I was very pleased to have Laura featured because,
Yeah, it was.
Laura was really fun.
She was really tackling that.
Yeah.
Well done.
So,
Picture everything.
yeah, so I'm really pleased that we have someone from the Times. Because Sandra Fox, I don't know when she left, but it's been a while, and then we just weren't getting any coverage at all. So it's nice that Gal's reached out to me and connected and wants to cover us again. So that's good. I'm glad.
Good. It was a great article.
Okay, pear tree.
Pear trees. So, let's see. There's an expression in marathon training, you have to go slow to go fast. And in marathon training, it means you need to slog in a lot of long, slow, boring miles so that you can go fast and have the stamina to do the big event. And that's sort of appropriate for Pear Tree. So we, as everybody knows, are working on a survey to gather sort of town-wide feedback on people's wants and needs down at Pear Tree. And I think we're making great progress and are in good shape. I think the working group is largely agreed on the content of the survey, and now we're sort of getting broader feedback and input in that survey. So Pam's got some feedback for us. And just if there's anybody else here who's not on the working group who thinks you want to provide input, now's a great time. So just reach out to me via email so that we don't move too far in a different direction. That's my update right now.
Can we get a copy of what you've gotten together?
Yeah,
Can we
happy
see it
to
as a
send it
commission?
to you.
That might be a good way, I mean, not that we want to be on your, you're
I
doing a
wouldn't
great
want to be
job.
on the, I wouldn't
No,
want to
you're
be on
doing a
the
great
committee.
job.
No, I'd be happy
Just to
and
read it, just to see,
I would welcome all feedback and just ask if you can do it sort of within a week so
Yes.
that it's
Oh, no
not five. Pardon me?
And maybe don't spread it around. You're trying to do something somewhat proprietary now. You're asking for feedback within, but you're not ready to like launch it to the newspaper kind of thing.
Oh, no.
Right, or
Just
put it
yeah,
on
for the
social
commission to
media.
look at.
Still
Right.
draft work in progress. So
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
happy to send it around to the group here and
Thank you
and
very much.
Please let me know.
Just did a quick update, I was in my president's report. I did see an email that Dan Biggs sent to the Army Corps 48 hours ago saying, what's up? And he's not yet gotten a response, so.
They're saying it's in the queue.
So again, it's just not moving. It's very frustrating.
And it's in the queue, and as I recall, somehow it was supposed to be done around September. Is that still the plan? That whatever, originally they said 6 months, so this coming September? What's your expectation?
His expectation is once he gets what he needs from the Army Corps, then we complete the application to Connecticut Deep, and then it gets submitted to them, and he thought at least 6 months.
6 months from the time it goes to deep.
Yes.
So the 6 month clock has not started.
Correct. So they're holding us up, and Dan's been very faithful about, just have a tickler or anything, something like that every, 3 to 4 weeks, and you either come back and say it's in the queue or this or that, but it's just not. It's frustrating, so it's just, that piece is stalled. Anyway, okay, and last, weed.
Okay, we met on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, and we had Dan Biggs come in and present the plan and revised budget that we asked him to come back to us with. We made some revisions on the project to make it kind of more budget friendly and looked at ways that we can make it also more naturalistic. I think we really wanted to make the path a very restive and a nature trail, parts of it. So we asked him to do that, and he presented to our, I guess Lori was there, I missed, but, and also Mary Louise, you were there, I saw you. And, we just kind of looked at, it was, the number was pretty high. I mean, it was higher than I think Jen Montanaro thought it would be, and it's just COVID pricing. And also, he even went as far as to say, just because I give you this, I don't even know if it's good anymore, because it's the numbers get stale very fast. Like a lot of contracted work, even when they give you an amount, maybe it's good for 30 days if you're lucky. And we're not obviously 30 days away from anything. So that was, part of our discussion.
What was the quote?
2.5, a million, and that's from Dan. We're also have a situation where, we're trying to work with the Darien Athletic Foundation, and they typically like to use their contractor, from doing the trail at the high school. And so Jen has promised to revisit with her contractor with this new revision to see what they come up with and see how we can still work together. She made it pretty clear that they couldn't support the whole amount the way it was proposed because they don't have that funding in place. And they're going through a transition. They have a lot of new board members. She doesn't kind of know where, how far they can go with fundraising if they need to, if they decide to take on more. So,
How much did they offer initially?
our initial plan was about $1 million, and it was going to be a third with town, a third was going to be Darien Foundation, and a third was going to be the Darien Athletic Foundation. So that was very different. This is now several years ago, honestly, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. And so, I mean, it's also, like, the plan changed a little bit, so we're just trying to figure out a way to see if we can work with them, because if we can partner with them, maybe we can do, they can do a chunk of it, and then the town can take on parts of it. So we're trying to figure out if that's even legally possible. I think Pam and Lori and also Jen met with Wayne Fox to see if we're able to work, because with all the bidding that we need to do as a town, it's harder to work, with a group that doesn't have bidding. So we're gonna have to figure out how to, so Pam's, she's gonna follow up with Wayne to see how that would work. And Jen's going to work with FGB, which is her contractor, and also take a temperature within her board to see what their willingness in terms of money. But that's where we're at. We're going to meet in 3 more weeks. We're hoping to have answers to all those questions because, we really want to finish Weed Beach. It's a great project. There's so much. Lori brought up a great point that we have all these new apartments coming online, lots of new residents that are going to feel the need to use the beach space. So we want to have that ability for people to kind of spread out and really use the beach because there's so much land there, you guys know. And hopefully we can do this project, especially so much of the improvement will happen off the beach area, which would be great. So we won't really interfere at some point if we do that piece of it. I guess the most invasive part of it would be the boardwalk that we're envisioning. So, it's definitely something we're thinking about and working on, but
that's probably also the most expensive section.
It was $800,000 for 645.
But it's also the most visible part of, it's a lot of material, it has to be engineered properly, it's not just a chipped path, it needs to be resilient, but it's also the most visible part of the project.
He's also going back to check those numbers.
Yeah, he's going to check, because we had talked about, he had it written down, something about concrete, cast concrete, and we had decided on Ipe, to make it more natural. But it will provide much more usable space for the beach, because right now, those, we don't have, even though the beach, it's not, people don't have places to sit outside of the Adirondack chairs. There's going to be viewing areas. It's a lot of, hopefully, great spaces for people to enjoy. And I think it's going to be ADA compliant, which is a really huge thing. We talk a lot about the young people in town, but there are people that are aging in place in Darien or visiting their young family in Darien. So we want to have all of those amenities for everybody to enjoy. So yes, it's definitely, we're hitting a lot of.
It's a real showpiece project, I think, for this commission. It's really going to be very well received.
Well, it was part of Weed Beach 1 was to do that boardwalk. We had to take it out because we didn't have the funding at that point. So I think it's time for us to, and then we got Short Lane, which we didn't have when we were doing Weed Beach 1. So we had to configure that space. So my hope is we kind of move forward with maybe a public-private partnership, and so that we can offset some of the costs, because it is high. And nobody's fault, it's just what, the cards we've been dealt. So hopefully if we can get some money into another source, we can it'll be easier for us to move forward.
The materials that we picked for the path, it's porous, right?
We talked about, that was interesting, we talked about some of the paths are stone dust, but Jen was great. She talked a little bit about her experience from doing that running path, and she said that some of that, if it was too fine, it kind of washed away, and they were replenishing.
It did.
And she said that at Waveney, they just put down a kind of a bigger rock, so she thinks that will stay in place. It won't run off. So we talked to Dan Biggs, would that cost a lot more to go with a big, and he said it was negligible. He says, if we're doing stone dust, doing the bigger rock won't necessarily, and the mix of the bigger and small will keep it more interlocked.
So would that be easy for wheelchairs and stuff?
There's just certain parts that.
It won't be ADA.
No,
Not that part, right?
Parts of it won't be. It's just that it was the cost. To be honest
The
with you,
parts that are ADA, what would be the materials be made of? I done?
It would definitely be ADA, it's like E-Pay and there's some of it's asphalt.
Some of
still
it's
in the front.
asphalt for.
And the front part is
wheelchairs.
there's asphalt. But there's another
The
part that
other
was.
thing about those big rocks is that they can be hard. I run up at Waveney and
Yeah.
they can be really hard.
Yeah, and that's the
to run,
challenge.
and they kind of get, when it rains, they get pushed to the side, and then you're kind of worried
Is that
about your
recent?
ankles.
Because Jen said that they put in new rock because of that, like that they've done
Okay, I
something
haven't
new.
been up there.
It's very
Should
flat.
go for a run.
Yeah, Amy, you should go. It's,
Why don't
they've
you go?
just
That's
rolled
great.
in flat.
have to go.
Yeah, so.
They've just done a lot of work on their, and they've widened their trails throughout the parks up there, and it's very flat. I mean, it's definitely, you could be pushing a wheelchair easily there. It's a very good surface.
Yeah.
So we're still doing research on that, just to
I'll
make
go
sure
up
we're
and check
finding
it out.
more appropriate, obviously Jen brought that up, so, I'm hoping that they can partner, especially that piece, they're so good at that, like, they did a great job at the high school, and the fact that they've gone back to fix it, and they're thinking about other materials to make it better. I would love to see them partner with us on that part. We'll see, fingers crossed, honestly, at this point.
Such an asset at the high school. It's really wonderful.
It really changed the way they run. I mean, the kids really enjoy it, and it's much
And they can
safer.
have other schools compete now.
Yes, they never hosted a meet ever at the school because of that, because they didn't have the space, so. But anyway, that's definitely a work in progress. Hopefully, at the next meeting, we'll have more positives, but who knows?
Good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's excited. Yeah, lots of good work. All right, Pam, the director's report.
Yep, I mean, it speaks for itself, you guys have all read it hopefully, but I will just highlight that the concession stand that I mentioned last month with Ableist, considering it, Ableist has backed out. They can't find enough staff, they don't want to set themselves up to fail. And as much as they were very excited about it, they just don't have what it takes to do it. So we do not have anybody at Pear Tree Concession right now. Had I not been, my schedule had been so tied up with everything I have going on, I still have it in the corner of my, my brain in terms of what we can do. But I could reach out to some, talk about the food trucks possibility. But I called a couple different restaurants. They can't do it either.
Nobody's got staffing, the labor
Yeah,
shortage.
it's really, really tough. And, so it is a big possibility that could just be empty.
I mean, could we do something where we kind of have a list of local restaurants maybe and their numbers or, just kind of, just.
It's a lot of coordination for
I know.
something like that.
No, I'm not saying have them, no, I'm not saying, just a list, so then say, hey, order takeout from support local, here are the local restaurants that are within driving distance of Pear Tree, like Mama Camilla's, I'm just,
Right.
just so that sometimes just the Roost is up the street, I'm just so that we kind of feature them, and that way they have options, and they're thinking about it.
Could be done social media.
Yeah,
Pam,
no,
could
just
the
another thing.
communications director that we hired in town do it, so you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have to do
Yeah,
I
that?
have a meeting with her tomorrow.
Good,
Great call.
send it her back.
Yeah, just, support local, we're sorry, we couldn't find, a vendor this
It's
year.
not over yet.
No, but I'm just
Still,
saying we do, if we,
I'm still thinking about it, like in terms of, could I absolutely manage to give some kids some jobs, simply do ice cream, but it is a whole nother avenue.
Is there ice cream vending machine we could
I was just gonna say, all vending machines, I mean, couldn't we just bring in a couple from Stanford and give somebody the contract?
Don't know anything about that.
Okay, I'll talk to
Do you
her.
know something about that?
Happy help.
Go Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, you're head of the vending committee.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Oh, there you go.
I'll join you in that.
Awesome, thank you. Great. Oh, that's fun.
Anything else?
And just highlighting one other thing. I'm still working with the past residents that are, would like to donate $40,000 to the gazebo at Cherry Lawn. We've been back and forth. I did research. I think it's Hugo Farms. They're a business in Connecticut that make everything. They make everything. So we are looking at different designs right now so that we can share it with the commission. But they have 4 siblings, So the four siblings all are getting together. I've been shooting them off ideas, like the one idea in here. And, so it's just gonna be a matter of what they would love to see, and does it fit in our budget, and will the commission approve it? So I would hope that we might have something in a design for next month for the commission to look at. We're getting close. We found something that obviously can fit in our budget, which is really good. But still working. And that's it.
I went over to Baker, the backstop looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the neighbors good with it, no complaints, balls are,
They can't complain.
okay.
We told them that it is not 100% foolproof.
Yeah.
It may still happen, but to the best effort of the town, we have replaced it, and it's substantially bigger.
Yeah, so it looks great.
So,
Has baseball season started?
but we got it done in time, thank
How
God.
have they
Yeah.
started, in other words, are the kids there playing and?
It is April, yeah, I mean, I think opening day is the third weekend, it might be this weekend.
Okay, so they're just getting going, so we may anecdotally hear whether it's resolved each year.
It's gonna resolve
A
a
lot.
very high
Okay.
percentage.
Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question? When are we gonna actually do the painting of the bathhouse and the paddle hut?
That money most
Tonight.
likely got approved tonight.
Tonight,
I
yeah, the Board
couldn't
of-
be here,
Okay.
but,
Do you have
Board of
the intel
Selectmen-
for us, Patty?
I'm sure it's got approved, since they
Yeah.
pushed
They
it.
basically
Yeah.
said-
Your buddies from Board of Finance,
Yeah.
your two
So when
buddies
did
pushed
that
it,
happen?
so.
If they got-
So,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure it's gonna get approved tonight, and then I have to write up a bid,
Right.
and then I have to go out to bid,
So
and then we
another-
have about 3 weeks for
So
the
it's 2
bidders to
months?
come in. No, I wouldn't say 2 months, but my goal would be, beginning of June.
Yeah.
That's a
Getting into
goal,
beach weather.
but that's
Yeah.
That's
how
gonna be a
many
challenge.
hours in a day.
No, it's not on you, I mean, it's obviously, I just think that now we're gonna have painters around when people are around.
We're
It's
down
what
to the
it is.
nitty gritty, and our crew is gonna be painting the bathhouse where they can reach the bottom half of
The
it,
bottom half,
and that's not gonna be probably until early June too.
okay.
Maybe late May, but they're so in their busy season right now, but we do have 2 really good painters, and I don't think it will take them a long time.
I mean, this building won't be as much of an issue,
Yeah.
in terms of beach season, but I'm really pleased that,
And they can get started early, they're on at
Yeah.
6:30, so once the weather's drier and warmer, they can beat a lot of the crowds in the morning, so.
I'm really pleased that the Board of Finance
Thank
really
you for doing that work.
stepped up and mentioned.
And they recommended
Our
that when you,
disappointment to them, they
Yeah.
really picked up on it and was like, and I gave the pictures.
they recommended that when you're doing your budget, starting it again in the fall, that you add a line item basically for painting.
Right.
And put it in operations. They said this should not be a capital item, this should be a operations
Yeah,
item.
although Jen
So
said at the meeting, she said anything over 5,000 that lasts more than 2 years is considered capital.
Capital, and that's what Kate said, capital too.
She
So
said
we're gonna
that
put it in a
at the meeting.
6-year
Yeah,
capital
I was gonna
improvement.
say.
So we know that they painted, our crew painted those buildings in 2016.
Oh, wow.
So 6 years, don't look good. So really, in maybe 5 years out, we should have them in there again.
Yeah.
But did they do just the lower part?
No, but they took on a lot of work that they can't take on right
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I
But
mean,
when
it
you
was a
put
huge
things under
project.
facility maintenance,
I-
is she telling you the $5,000, did she give you that $5,000 number then?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
asked her the question at the Board of Finance meeting. I said, there's been a lot of discussion whether this should be operating or capital.
Yeah.
And Jen said the definition for it to go into capital is $5,000 2 years.
Then you have to wait.
But anyway, I mean, the peaks in that bill, I don't know if you guys have gone
Yeah, they
there,
look awful.
really bad.
And the painting company, whoever we get too, I mean, they'll be able to take care of that project fairly quickly.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm really
Thank
pleased
you.
that
Great
that's
job.
gonna happen. So I'm assuming they approved it tonight because they were basically said,
I told Jen I couldn't be there, she's like, I don't think they're gonna have very much
Yeah.
discussion
come back. with it.
surrounding that. Oh, I do have one other thing. DJST. So, I invited him here, or I was trying to invite him here,
Darien Junior Sound.
during junior summer. And he didn't get my email right away, so I took them off the agenda, but he did write to me, and I'd like to read his little report. DJST is off to a good start for the 2022 season. Like past years, we are running 3 sessions starting on June 20 and ending on August 12th. We will have the younger sailors in the morning session sailing opties, and the older sailors in the afternoon sailing opties and Club 420s. We currently have 67 slots filled versus 79 for all of last year. We still have 2 months before the season starts, so we would expect to be roughly in line with last year. Like last year, our morning programs are near capacity with few afternoon sailors. That should shift next year as many of our younger kids will progress to an afternoon slot. One of our biggest issues is always finding qualified instructors. Unlike other sports camps, sailing requires several certifications to qualify, making it more difficult. We have several returning instructors from last year, including 2 CITs moving to junior instructors. We are still looking for 1 additional senior instructor, although we can operate with our current staff. Our other major issue is that our motorboats are quite old and are requiring more and more maintenance each year. Our plan is to replace at least 2 with either new motors or fully new boats in the next 2 years. Finding these at reasonable prices is proving difficult. On the management side, we have good news. First, everyone involved in the past few years is continuing with the program this year, and we added 2 new board members, parents that have been actively involved over the past few years. So now we have 5 board members, a director, and a couple of volunteers. We truly appreciate the support the commission provides our program. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
Sound like they're in good shape.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay, all right, let me bring this home. Actually, we've touched on a lot of these things already. I did want to mention that Joanne Gabriel, who I mentioned earlier, who's going to work with some invasives, shared with me that she's arranged a speaker at the Darien Library on June 9th. Master gardener named Alice Ely, and she's going to be talking about invasives in Fairfield County. If you're interested, you can register through the Darien Library. I did that something ago. There's a little form. You can get a slot. We talked about the geese issue at Tilly Pond. I just generally wanted to mention that Pam's staff is in flux right now, so, to the extent that we can be helping her getting, the agendas ready and all of that sort of stuff, that will be helpful to her. And talked about the garden club. We talked about painting. I think we chipped away. Told you that Dan Biggs hasn't heard from the Army Corps. There's Selleck's Wood cleanup is this weekend, I think on Sunday. And the Coastal Commission is going to do a cleanup starting at Pear Tree and moving up the river on Saturday. So I think in combination with Earth Day, I think there's just a whole lot of activities going on, but a couple of things that affect the parks directly. And it sounds like there's something at Woodland as well.
Yeah, that's what
somebody say. Yeah. So a lot of that's going on in the parks for Earth Day, which will help everything look good. And then the other thing, it's an old-fashioned paper, but I don't know if all of you get the National Recreation and Parks magazine. So I don't know if you guys saw this. I made a bunch of copies, but I thought it was a really interesting article about studying the health benefits and economic impacts of parks. And I'll pass this out to you guys because I made some copies. But the National Association said that they're working to develop resources that help park and recreation professionals and advocates make a health-based case for parks, including the development of a method to attach an economic value to those health benefits. This is a multi-year project that will result in the creation of an adaptable and practical tool that will provide an economic value of the health impacts of parks. So I think that's something really interesting that as that rolls out, we should keep an eye on it. That could be really useful to us, because I know certainly we get those questions sometimes from the Board of Finance or others. And it's always so hard to quantify, why this is important. But then meanwhile, this article does kind of highlight sort of like key reasons that parks are always important that we know, and then has a link, is a little blurry, to the more in-depth article where they cite, hundreds of different research papers and whatever. So I think this is a worthwhile read for everybody, and possible to go in and read the, the more detailed article, and for us to keep an eye on that. So as we progress with our work, we can really take advantage of these tools and not just say, well, parks make everybody feel good, but that there's more ways to really to really quantify, what we're really doing for the community. And I think it really just supports the work that we do, so I thought it was really interesting. So I made like 10 copies. I'm sure some people want to grab one if you didn't notice it in that magazine. But this article in particular really caught my attention. It's something that could be exciting for us once we get this started.
Oh, April, I have it, starting this one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's April.
Sorry. So that is really all I had, because we touched on a lot during the course of. I think we'll accept the motion to adjourn. Should one be offered? All in favor? Thank you, Channel 79.
See the article?
Sure.